Guys, we're back, baby. Tuesday night chillin' chat. We are rocking and rolling, moving and grooving, squatting and speaking. Who knows? I don't know. We're here. We're live. We're now. And guys, in today's live stream, we're going to get to the bottom of is anything possible in home arcade. And let me tell you something. I brought somebody here that's going to help me explain all of that, okay? But before we do all of that jazz, okay? We got lots to talk about. I want to say hi to you guys. I want to give a quick just channel update while you guys are quick at coming in here. We got the Darkstalkers Dynamo Deluxe completed. It's done. I've been playing it all day. I actually got to try the Burger King Whopper meal, that dragon meal. If you guys tried it, let me know in the chat. It was good. It was kind of gimmicky because, you know, it's colorful. It looks cool, but it's just a Whopper, right? And we got done on X-Men 97 Children of the Atom mod, guys. That is completed. We did a video on that. That's already out. The video for Darkstalkers will be coming, so I just got to edit it and all that jazz. But guys, let's say hi to each and every one of you guys. The Be Me is in the building saying, let's go. You already know. Cat Dad's Arcade is here. Dear G.I. Joel, here is my order. Whoa. We already got an order for G.I. Joel. Okay, let's go. I saw Joel in the chat. I hope he's listening to this. Let's do this. That's a nice little order. I'll take the original Mario Brothers, original theme cab with the side art of Popeye and Donkey Kong. Please take my money. And that's only one stop for G.I. Joel. That's the original Nintendo cab, so we don't know where we're going from that at all. Hold on a second. Good night, buddy. I love you, buddy. Good night. Say good night to your sister for me. Okay. Okay, we had a little visitor with my son saying good night. Okay. What did Mama do? Oh, I love my kiddos. That's why I keep the door unlocked. They just come rolling in, rocking and rolling. Let's go, baby. Kids are going to bed right now, so you know it's that time. It's that time. All right, Big Fish is here in the building. Best part of Tuesday nights is chilling at the CornerCade. I appreciate that because you could be anywhere, but you're here, so let's do it. Galvin Wong, thank you so much, man, for stopping by as well. Provolone Joe in the building. What's up, Danny? I hope you had a safe and fun Memorial Day weekend. Thank you so much, man, and shout out to everybody in the chat and those who served, obviously, for giving us those freedoms to be able to do the cool, wacky stuff that like modding right at the CornerCade or GI Joel building cabinets. Let's do this. Happy Memorial Day weekend to each and every one of you guys. This is not a repeat, Joel. Joe, let's go. This is not a repeat. GI Joel's in the building. Okay, let's go. So okay. Tony C, he says he hates purple on Darkstalkers. Or no, I hate purple on Darkstalkers. No. Have you seen the marquee, Tony C? When you see the video, marquee is it's so crisp and so clear and so beautiful. It's awesome. I'll tell you that much, guys. Israel Gaming is in the house. And how's everyone doing tonight? Hey, yo, turn your arcades on. That's right. It's about gaming. And turn the arcades on, having some fun for sure. And J-Rod is definitely here as well. Let's go, guys. Let's do this, man. We got a lot of cool people here tonight. We got 33 people in the house, guys. If you haven't already, give this video a like. I mean, we're going to keep going. Saying hi to each and every one of you. End of the line is in the building. Let's do this. That's an interesting question. Okay, so why does your counter count upward like in during the countdown show? So I use like templates to make videos, help with video editing, and I believe that this app, this template is used. It's probably European because everything in like soccer counts upward, right? So I can only do the math on that. 2 and 2 equaling 4, so it counts up for some reason. I don't know. If someone wants to do an intro for me, let's go. I'll let you know what I want. You can just do it. All right, let's do this. Let's scroll down. Ken, what's going on, man? So this must be a custom WWF arcade cab. Well, hey, hold on a second. Anything is possible. And speaking of which, I brought somebody here, guys, to help just answer all of these questions, right? We've had so many questions ever since the man himself unveiled that Nintendo cab, and then we got a little spoiler to that on our previous live when we went live at like midnight, guys. We saw something in the background, but guys, please give a round of applause to our boy G.I. Joel. He's in the house, dude. Let's go.
What's going on, Danny?
Joel, it's a pleasure for you to join the show. I'm super excited. I don't, like I told you backstage, I just don't want to get banned from G.I. Jarvis, because if I use all the caps locks in the chat, he'll boot you immediately. I've already had that happen to me a couple times.
He didn't like that, but we did a little reprogramming. We did some reprogramming. I think he's a little looser, a little bit more lighthearted, So we haven't quite got him figuring out my sarcasm and stuff, but
yeah.
At least
it's gonna be a tough one.
Booting people as much.
You don't want to do that. So for those of you guys that don't know, G.I. Joel, he's the man behind the Nintendo Cab, guys, and he does a lot of cool things with Arcades Anonymous. Longtime friend here, and let me just say this. He also now is starting to live stream, so I think this is ingenious that he's live streaming, just working, just doing his builds, doing the orders, which is awesome because we can keep him company, and he doesn't feel so alone just with Jarvis there, kind of doing the commands on the CNC machine, right? And so I think it's really cool because it's kind of like an insight to what you do on a daily, right? So today you said you were what, busy from sun up to sundown. You just shut the CNC machine off, right?
Yeah, busy. Yeah, it was not full of production order. We had a busy, crazy weekend, so it was a little bit busier trying to handle some of the issues we had over the weekend. But I was running some work on the CNC just before jumping on stream with you, so it was came to an end. Turned the dust collection off, the CNC off, and some of it made it a little quieter in here, and then turned the camera on. So
there we go.
you
Now we're
don't
ready
get that. You don't get these luxuries on my stream, though. When I do stream, I mean, you're talking it up a little bit more than it's worth. I've only done it a couple times so far. I'm hoping to try to do it a little bit more regularly, at least once a week, but maybe a couple times or daily at some point if people are interested. Been slowly getting some subs and growing, so I guess some people are liking it, but
I
try to
I
up
think
the
it's
quality, up the personality a little bit, and go from there and see if people like it. But yeah,
I think it's awesome because like if you get your order picked to be made, like how cool is it to see that order, your order being made? I think it's really really cool, and I think you should keep it rocking, keep it rolling as long as you can because it's a fun little stream, it's a fun little get together, you know. Okay, so Joel, we got you here. Obviously, we want to talk about your latest product, what you got going on. I want to ask you some questions, not only like about this said product, but like about possibly other projects as well, because I have some we show the mod projects that we got going on here as far as renders. Ezekiel the Chicago Retro Ranger just sent me over like 4 or 5 new renders, and one of them I've kind of been asking you about in the chat, and now that you're here and I can talk to you about it, I actually want to see if this is possible, and I think a few other people who have this said cabinet would like that as well. So we'll see when we get there, kind of thing. There was something that was leaked out, Joel, and I'm gonna bring this image right up here. Let's see if we do this. No, that's not gonna work. We're not gonna. Oh wait. Whoa, 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 whoa. What are we going on? Okay, so here we go. Let's do this. Let's do. It. Looks like it's only gonna let us be a small screen. So this image, Joel. Now you sent these over to me before the show. What was going on here? What was going on here? What was in the background? This is the fully dressed up version of what you previously shown on Mike B show, correct?
yeah, this was me taking a 20 more, having 20 more minutes to put some vinyl on it and some edge banding and to piece it together a little bit more so that some people could see what it would look like a little bit more finished. But yeah, it's same cab that we showed and introed on Mike B's stream. That was kind of just a wood shell at the time, but this is the same. It has the same Intech deck, except I gutted the Intech deck and pulled some of the specs and stuff, and designed up my own deck there for this play choice. Because ultimately, what I've always wanted when I saw the Intech deck, NES deck, I got one. I've always been a huge NES fanboy, as you can tell, and but so I got an NES collection, and I thought it would be cool to have an arcade to be able to play a lot of those games on and stuff. But if I had one, I wanted it to kind of be like a play choice, right? Because that was kind of what the play choices were. It was a way for people to experience and get introduced to some of the NES games that were coming out on the market in a lot of ways, and putting them into arcades and things. So I thought that would be a cool thing to have. So I had always had this plan to make a Nintendo Play Choice 10 cab of my own. But I was hearing a lot of people mentioning that they'd love to see one and get one. So as I was working on it, I decided why not build it up so that it could possibly be something that could be designed, flat packed, and shipped similar to arcade one-ups, and arrive to people's doors so that they could just assemble and put them together and mod them however they want. I know play choice isn't everybody's, dream cabinet and cup of tea, but I know there's a lot of people that would love to have like a Donkey Kong or Popeye, or tons of people that actually I'm finding out want Fix-It Felixes and punch outs. So it's all the same shaped cab, just different color vinyl. And, however you want to sticker it and put different artwork on it, it's kind of up to you. So that's kind of the plan going forward, is to, at least for this cabinet, to offer it as kind of shell modding options for people, for them to build their own cabinet from. It'll probably come kind of as in the form factor as you see it, the shape. It'll be edge banded and have some sort of solid color vinyl applied to it, whether you choose to have black, orange, blue, what else was there? White,
red.
Yeah. So we have a couple of those options, and I don't have a huge archive of artwork and stuff, so I may end up maybe partnering with somebody. Or the nice thing about the Nintendo cabinets is they were pretty simple, a sticker graphic decal that is applied to the sides of them. So probably be able to do something along that lines. And I'm designing it up so it will accommodate Arcade 1-up screens and bezels, so that, if you have a stock screen lying around that you want to use, or if you want to upgrade to like a buy stuff 19-inch monitor, you can easily just order something from them. So kind of bring your own monitor if you want. I may look into offering monitors if it becomes something that people really want, but I kind of want to avoid, getting involved with, importing a bunch of electronics and stuff that people have they're doing well, figured out and doing well. I think the buy stuff guys have a lot of great products. They offer a great monitor upgrade solution. So why not, just get those parts from them? They're already got those things figured out. So I'm going to try to offer custom cut deck options, with the holes already cut and pre-configured for you to be able to select if you want like a Donkey Kong or, whatever, if there's a different control features. I think the play choice was one of the few that was only a 2-player. The others, most of them I think were single player, but depending on how many buttons and things that you want. So be able to order that. As you can see, I think I'm going to try to make them so that they're all waterfall deck options. That's what this is. As I was playing it, I had just kind of the regular cut deck on it, and it was driving me nuts. My palms were resting on the edge, and I was like, this needs to feel more comfortable. So, and a lot of them came with a waterfall edge deck. So got that worked in. And so I may offer, like I said, Intech deck option with it, with my custom, so that the idea with feedback on the Discord and stuff from people, played around with a couple different options for where the NES cart would go, putting the door on the front and different things, and kind of what we've netted out to and where it is now, and I think where it's going to stay is hidden in the bottom. So you just insert the cart up underneath the speaker well there, that front panel. And so
that's a great idea.
Insert, and you'd be able to play it from there. So if you wanted to do like a play choice, or possibly even a Mario versus cab, because I have a Mario versus NES cart. So you can get those carts, the versus carts, and they have battery save and stuff like that. So it saves your high score and things. So you do that with like an Intech deck option. This kind of flushed out. But if you wanted to do like a Donkey Kong or something like that, you'd probably bring your own Pi or however you want to power it. Is kind of the plan for this. But has the cutout for the plexi on the front so that you can put your marquee and stuff. I'm working on a Mario versus cab to put next to this next, so you guys can kind of see what that'll look like. And then one of the unique things I thought was kind of cool and wanted to do with my play choice, really loved the digital marquees and stuff, the active digital marquees
Yeah.
that everybody was doing on the cabs and how cool those were. I thought, man, that'd be really cool to do like a digital topper for the play choice, because when they offered these, they had, they had so many games that were included, but be able to show what games were on them. They had these little aluminum plaque toppers that would go on the top of the cab, and you'd have these stickers that you'd stick on. And the artwork was really unique on them too, because it wasn't really the game artwork that you'd see on the cartridge or the box art. Some of it is like, some of the, like, if you look at it, the Ninja Turtles and stuff that it's on there, like, never see the Ninja Turtles in that depiction before. It was some random artist and things that they were putting these things. It was kind of unique and cool. So I thought it'd be cool to replicate that, but in a digital form, so it would cycle through all the different play choice games and the versus games that came on these. So that's what
Yeah,
I
that'd be
have
dope
going
for
on the
sure.
top is, three screens that just kind of cycle through the different artwork.
Yeah, and we saw that in the original kind of render that you were when you were on Mike B show, kind of showcasing this thing off. So now that, guys, for you guys that are just getting in, that this right here is now the dressed up version of it. It's got everything painted, the vinyls applied, now graphics. So I guess long and short, like, do you plan on having like a base model of this thing, maybe like a deluxe variant where you talked about, hey, maybe the deluxe variant will include said marquee, the vinyl for the control panel, dare
Yeah.
I say controls if that's possible, right? Because I mean, these controls, guys, the arcade one up ones or whatever, they're not very expensive, not very hard to get, so I don't know if that's something that could be offered as, like a deluxe model, or if are you just gonna go basic bare bones. Think with you, it's a little bit, it's easier to do just like the woodworking, right? Because I could put
Mhm.
in my order for Joe Sabos and my order for buy stuff, and now you have three different companies making the one machine. Might speed up the time as opposed to just one guy building it from start to finish. I mean, look at buy stuff, for example, in the super sprints. They're doing those from start to finish, and it looks like an 8 month wait or plus or so on and so forth kind of thing. What would be easier for you?
Right. So, I mean, as much as I really love this stuff, and I really would like to offer, as complete as possible too, but my biggest concern is it's a fine line, especially with Nintendo when you're involved with them. They have a reputation for not caring how big or small you are. They'll go after just about anybody if they feel you're wrongdoing and slighting them. And
Mm.
I not really. I'm just trying to offer people, what they've been wanting, and I'm not trying to get rich off of it. I'm trying to pay my bills and enjoy what I'm doing while I'm doing it, while I'm paying those bills, right? So,
Mm.
um, gonna probably avoid doing any, complete deluxe, like whether or not you see a play choice completely finished like this. It probably wouldn't come with ROMs, but the Intec deck and everything all finished and like it is, maybe. The Donkey Kongs and stuff like that, probably just plain skinned, and you apply the art and get the art from somebody, or somebody if I partner with somebody. Haven't worked out those details yet, but the deck art I'll probably replicate, because it's kind of my own um, dimensions and design. It's a little bit more unique, and
Mm.
there's no copyright stuff really as much in the deck art. It's just kind of grids and different shapes and stuff like that, and you're not using people's logos, so I'm not
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
concerned about that. So I have an option for people to get deck art right with the deck if they want it, and that way it matches up, pre-configured for the buttons and sticks. If so there's always that option. And then one of the other things the one thing that people may notice different from this one, as where it was at when showed it on Mike B's channel, is it had a different coin door on it, right? So the Play Choices had the kind of the more modern looking coin door. That's what I chose to put on this. This one is not quite 100% finished for the Play Choice option. This is new spoiler alert for breaking on the CornerCade.
I wish I had a sounder. I'll get
Breaking
one.
news. So this just came in today. And I got to put a little lock on it. But basically what we have here is a working change box to go under the coin door. But what it will do is house.
Oh, look at that. All your carts. Yeah. Beautiful.
Underneath for people that want to have that Play Choice in tech option. So,
that's awesome, dude. That's a great idea.
Couple different options for coin doors. So there's that, and then this is just the working prototype, not flushed out at all. But this is probably offer something like this that can be mounted on. Have holes, to put the screws and stuff in it and mount it. Maybe different grooves and things. This is just real rough prototype, but have more of this style for the Donkey Kongs and the Popeyes and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's a really cool idea. Chat, what do you think of that? Let's go. Oh, let's do this here. There we go.
So it's
okay.
Let's up to take Retro 530 coin doors or Arcade 1-Up coin doors. Is kind of how come and be ready to go.
Yeah, and I think guys, if you have any questions in the chat, keep them coming. The end of the line says, Joel, I think designing these to be capable with Arcade 1-Up screens is a great idea, especially for those of us who still have the shark fin cabs and looking to upgrade. So yeah, you could take pretty much something with a shark fin. I mean, those are probably worth $100 right now, right? Unless you're like a frog or something like that, right? Maybe a golden axe. You can take all the guts of that guy, right? All the guts, and you can swap them into something like this, or a different cab design, because Joel's not just stopping with Nintendo, guys, and we will get to that a little bit later in the show. But the possibilities here are endless to truly make these older cabinets just deluxe and great again. What do you got there, buddy?
Couple different speaker grill options, so that'll be an option, because they had them in different configurations, either a single speaker or dual speaker or no speaker at all. It's kind of what people want to build and how they want to build them. But yeah, so this is ultimately the first entry of a cabinet that I'm offering to the community from out of G.I. Joe custom cabinets, apart from what I was doing with risers and stands and things like that. Hopefully it's not the last. There are plans to expand and offer additional shapes. So as anybody that caught Mike B's stream, I had Stock Jock on there. He's been pushing me. He wants a Robotron. Robotron is already being worked on and designed up. It's not too far off from being pumped out of here. And this is in response to that question you had up on the screen. I don't remember who said it, but yeah, the shark fins. I agree, and 100%. And I think number 2 or number 3 that you're going to see out of here as an available shell option, apart from the Nintendos, that I almost have ready to go and probably will be cutting a prototype. I ordered a PCB and stuff of my own just to have to finish it off, because I felt that Arcade 1-Up was doing it an injustice by leaving it in that shark fin this entire time, is Space Invaders.
There we go. So they had the PCB and encoder board just ready to purchase?
I didn't purchase it from Arcade. I picked it up off of eBay from a guy.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I was gonna say, damn, these
people that have those 40th anniversaries or whatever, and the shark fin form factor, or picking them up on Marketplace, and want to make them into
that'll be cool, man.
A 3/4 scale deluxe looking Space Invaders.
Like with the correct form factor. Holy moly. Yeah. Oh my
And I
goodness.
think I'm gonna do a custom deck for that as well. That will have the buttons, the left right buttons rather than the joystick. Because as I explained to you and and realized through our exploration of the Golden Axe debacle, a joystick is buttons
Yep.
underneath.
Yep.
So you can pull that. I didn't really think about it because I didn't really have time and was just trying to get you something and get you to stop bugging me. But somebody pointed it out to me after when you showed off that Golden Axe was like, hey, you could just get rid of that third joystick altogether that you have there and make it buttons. And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. So
Yeah,
with
but the
Space Invaders left, right, you can just swap those out with, plug them into buttons
so
basically.
yeah, so
And
what you'd have to do though is you'd have to keep the encoder board plug, then splice, then like cut the wire from the joystick, then splice those or solder those to a. I'm not gonna know how to do all that. Like, are you out of your mind? That's
it,
GI Joel.
it,
If you can do that for me, okay. Like,
you
but
don't need
there's
to
no
be
chance.
soldering and stuff, but we might try. I try to make things as simple and as least complicated for everybody as possible too. Like the
Yeah,
thing
hundred
that's
percent.
really bugged me about the racing cabinets is, unfortunately, like with the sit down racing cabinet riser for Outrun, people have to remove the bottom base off of it in order for the kick plate and stuff to pass by all that stuff. So I
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah,
wanted to not. I want to make sure that these are as simple stuff I offer is as simple to people as possible and it's least
yeah.
involved in not having that. Because I know some people, there are lots of handy people out there, but there are also lots of people that's not their thing either. And so they just kind of want it to work. So
Yeah, plug and
I'm
play
trying
is
to make it as plug and play as possible. But yeah, but
yeah.
those buttons, Danny, you could have your 5-year-old do that with a pair of scissors and some scotch tape.
That would have
It's
been cool looking because it is,
put them
obviously it's
together,
kind of
put some tape over it. It's safe. It's
call it
good.
a day,
It's
shrink
not
wrap it,
going to burn the CornerCade down, probably.
If I haven't done it yet, I don't think I ever will.
Right.
Yeah, that joystick is funny because I accidentally on I believe it's Revenge of Death Adder, you can actually play as like the third player with that joystick. So technically that cab is 3 players, but you can only do like the simple attack because it's only got that button to select the game. It's very weird how Arcade One Up is like, it was so mashed potato brains the way they came up with that PCB. It's so bizarre that you have to use the player one stick to select the games and stuff. It's just weird, but we got it to work. It looks cool. I like it. So, it's just a little hiccup that you got to get through. But yeah, the buttons would have kind of been cleaner. And I appreciate you making that deck, dude, because the button layout that you have is way better than I've seen on any other 2-player conversion. I've seen a couple out there of that Golden Axe cabinet from other companies, and I think I have the best by far. And it's a credit to you, and it's a credit to Joe Sabos for helping me to put my thoughts on paper. And I really do appreciate you guys like being able to do that, because without companies like you guys, I don't have anything. We don't have any of the cool games that we want. We're stuck with just Street Fighter, Pac-Man, and Mortal Kombat, and maybe NBA Jam, right? And it's the same old every single time. So this is very exciting to see the possibilities. I saw Castle Ranch here had a question. Says, dude, if you put an afterburner on any graphic, I'm gonna click it. That's the thumbnail he's referring to. And this is one that we've gotten asked this. I've gotten asked this before. We've gotten this asked by Vic Vicious and a ton of other people in the community. I guess when we can get back to the Nintendo Cave, guys. If you guys have questions about this, pricing, whatever Joel can kind of got so far. I know not everything is complete, but we can definitely talk about that. But what about if we go remove this? What are the possibilities of putting together an afterburner? It's in the thumbnail. I put it in there for a reason. Have you made any headway with something that's maybe different? I know there's a couple other cabs that you want to do before this guy, but what are the possibilities of possibly doing something like this?
So, I mean, I don't, I'm not, I've kind of said this not to like sound cocky or anything, but I like to imagine that anything is, and it's been said, it's kind of been said and oversaid in the community too. Anything's possible, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stay
I
away from
like
that.
to think that I can pretty much build anything with enough time. Um, I'm creative enough and have the abilities, and now, even the tools and stuff, to access to tools and things. I'm an industrial designer by trade and background. I, went to art and design school and have design and engineering backgrounds, and just have always been an inventor, builder, modder, craftsman. It's just what I love and where my passion is. So when I was
There
in
you go.
school, learning how to do things with, different tools and stuff, and in the world of industrial design, it's a lot of prototyping. So you're constantly problem solving and figuring out, and you're not, a lot of time you're having to build things and showcase stuff to sell product into executives and things like that, when you don't have a budget to cut tools and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff has to be handmade, prototyped, and you come up with and figure out creative ways to, create as realistic looking something to be able to sell it in. So along that process, I've discovered ways to not make one-off stuff, but, somewhat realistic ways to make, small scale manufacturing within, a garage and stuff like that, or have a network of friends, designers, that I went to school with, and people that also own their own fab shops and stuff, where they're building stuff and access to different machines. So this one, I really like the idea and challenge of it, just because of the type of tools and process that would be involved to make it, and the fact that, it's probably, most people say it probably can't be done or wouldn't be done because of how kind of ridiculous it is in some ways, but it's so unique. So I did a little bit of reaching out with some of the people that I know, and I found one of the guys I went to school with, who's not too far from here, that has his own fab shop, and he has a fairly large thermoformer. And so basically what a thermoformer is it heats up a sheet of plastic, and you drape that sheet of plastic over top of a mold, and it's connected to a vacuum, and the vacuum sucks the plastic to the mold and to the shape, and it cools, and you pop it off. And so, I mean, that's basically what that bezel and a lot of that stuff is thermoformed. The problem is it's kind of a lost, not really a lost art, but it's not very common and popular. People don't, these machines are big and bulky, and they're not used too often. So they're kind of hard to come by, and they collect a lot of dust in people's shops. It's not something that a lot of people have, especially in a large scale. I have a small one that I do my CornerCade coin doors and stuff on. But I don't have one that would be that big. So, but my buddy, he has one that probably could do 3/4 scale bezels like that. And the thing with having those, you also have to know somebody that can make you a mold, but you can cut molds on a CNC with MDF particle board. So I can make
Let's go.
I have experience designing thermoform, a lot of thermoform design for food packaging, and a lot of injection mold plastic mold design and stuff from past lives. And so I know how to build or design up my own mold. So I can, it's more of a matter of taking the time to do it. It, as there's 3 or 4 people in the chat probably that would love to have one. And that's probably, the majority of it's probably not going to be as high ticket as, like, say, the Nintendos and stuff like that. But I really like the challenge. I think it would be cool and something to offer unique.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest with you, Joel. Like, I think, we're at a point now in home arcade where, I mean, Chad, you
Oh
let
boy,
me know. You're like,
Ezekiel has an extra afterburner bezel. That
oh,
would
look at
be.
that.
I might have to take a run down to
It's
Chicago
a
and borrow
no,
that,
no. I'm sure he can send it out your way. I'm sure he
because
can send it out.
I don't know if we want to send it through the mail.
Oh yeah, if it gets lost or something. Oh yeah, it's
Because
precious
it would be
cargo
me
right there.
taking, designing it up from pictures from scratch right now.
Yeah, that would be truly helpful for you. I mean, you got
But
the
to
real
be
thing
able
right
to
in
have
front of you, ready to
something
go.
physically there to take measurements and some specs from to scale it down, or to possibly even use to mold different parts off of.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
So,
that would be
Joel,
cool.
something like this, like I mean, like I would be interested in this, right? And I have no nostalgia for Afterburner, but it's something new, something different, something exciting. It's a different game. It's a different form factor. And I think we're at the point, home arcade community here, that it's like anything besides the basic four things that we've been getting, we are gonna jump all over. I mean, even John D's Street Fighter broke the headlines because it had the Alpha series on there and Third Strike, right? And that was something new, something different, something exciting. Dynamo XL, right? So you take this for example, Afterburner. What you're doing pretty much, you're building the base, which shouldn't be too complicated there, and then those two sides, the control panel, and you're molding it to this screen here, this plastic bezel piece, and I'm sure there'll be wood inserts, right, to help support. I mean, that's for someone like your craftsman skills, like that's, I don't want to say easy, but that's doable, right? Like that this isn't rocket science, right? Like this is something that
No,
can
it's
be
not
done.
it's not like it's complex and somewhat challenging, but it's not like a Mount Everest or anything, to
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
for somebody like myself that loves and enjoys this type of stuff. I mean, I really like RC cars and stuff like that, not just racing them, but building them, making your own bodies and stuff. And when I look at that, I see, all kinds of, things that translate over from, the RC world, because those are thermoform bodies that are made there. And so it's an exciting, and it brings me a lot of like happy joy feelings inside the idea of designing that, because there's so much to it that would be fun. It's
Yeah,
not just cutting
yeah.
out a wooden
A
shape, but
box. Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
there that's the world that I really love. And one of the reasons I started to get into this side hobby of CNCs and stuff, one, because I love machines and building. I built my own CNC and stuff from the ground up, over the last 15 years when they first started making little at-home kits available, and it's expanded and grown. But I kind of entered the area of making and selling product, and it was more wood products that were carved signs and stuff. And it was fun
Wow,
doing
yeah.
carved
Okay.
signs, but it was just wood and carved signs. The thing that got me excited, and I mentioned on Mike B's channel, I didn't grow up in the arcades, so I didn't have a ton of nostalgia for arcades. I like gaming. I always loved the idea of having an arcade cabinet of my own since I was a kid. But what really got me into this was just the next complexity step up of, it wasn't just a flat wooden sign. It was, you had electronics and joysticks and buttons and screens
Yeah.
and
There's so
lights,
much more to it.
LEDs,
Yeah.
marquees. You had some graphics. So there's different things at play. But then there was like this whole world of some of the plastics and 3D printed, 3D designed parts and pieces, the coin doors, the challenges of reproducing some of that. I've always been somebody that's really enjoyed trying to make something look as store bought and professional as possible, right? So it's not
Yeah.
just like a homemade product. Even when I was in high school, when CD burning first became a thing, like I didn't just burn CDs, my own mix CDs, and write on them with the Sharpie what it
The
was.
Sharpie, yeah.
I was the guy that had the little kit that you could get that had the labels, right? That were the stamp press that you could press the label sticker on. But I
That's
was
cool.
like designing up the art to look like one of the CDs that you could get off the CD
Yeah.
rack, and designing up the jewel case and stuff, and it was only for myself, but I just really liked trying to replicate and make something look finished. And that's one of the
And
things I like about this is trying to work in, the how can this be not just something that is shipped to your door that you have to then screw together with corner brackets and, scotch tape and bubble gum or whatever. But, this is arriving like a finished piece that you get at Walmart or IKEA furniture, and it pops together with cam locks and stuff like that. And it almost looks like something that came out of a factory at China.
And that's
Try to
huge because
replicate how that 6-year-old over in China is making that for us. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, that's it's definitely a challenge. That's good that you say like attention to detail. That's what I'm really big on. You want things to be as factory as can be, because when you can tell when something comes from actual company factory as opposed to maybe like a mom and pop shop or a smaller business. And the attention to detail is something that will truly separate your product from others, and it'll really propel you to get that much closer to what just a factory product, finished product, should actually be. And I know
That's been the thing I've been trying to work out too, because I'm a craftsman. I like quality stuff too. And I recognize that, even in the arcade world, like T-molding is way more quality than edge banding, right? But to me, when you're matching risers and stuff up with these products that are already, they have this edge banding on it, it bothered me inside. Even though it was lesser quality to have something that's edge banded rather than T-molded. I had to match that. So even, people have been asking, how these would come. And I kind of want them to fit alongside these, cheap toy home arcade one-ups, right? And to look like it's something that came from them and fits right alongside of those. It's not a cheap quality made by me cutting corners in any way. It would probably be easier for me and less expensive to just router cut a groove in it for you rather than having to invest in edge banding material and equipment and stuff to do that. But
and I can
really like
appreciate that.
trying to match that quality of mass manufacturing.
It's keeping
and to hide the fact
still.
that it's made here in a one-man garage,
one-man band,
right? So I take pride in having something maybe arrive that looks like it was factory produced and not a one-off.
and you want everything to match at the end of the day. Like, if we were starting our collection from scratch, maybe you go T-molding because obviously it's better quality. It's what the arcades are. You want to try to get these things as real as possible. I mean, us here at the CornerCade,
if somebody
all the time,
if somebody was contracting me to make them a custom arcade, like they wanted like a multi-cade or something like that, that would be the route I would tell them to go, and that I would do for them, nice edge banding and not make it out of MDF, make it out of, birch ply board and stuff. And I can do and have those capabilities, but I really like and find it fascinating and challenging to try to match, and make it look as mass manufactured and store bought as possible.
And when you did our Golden Axe control panel, it was phenomenal. I literally had that feeling. And I know like ours was a prototype version. I know the holes that you drilled, like the pre-drilled holes, those were perfect, but they were just too big. And so the screws just went in and fell out right away. So I had to not use those. But I like, that is beautiful, because for somebody who's not, they're just trying to follow my video, we're inspired by somebody who made a modding video. It's like, dude, I want that in my arcade. To be able to have just the absolute simplicity of, okay, now I don't have to take a drill and like pre-drill my holes and everything like that. I can just screw it in and go, like that's exactly what you're talking about when you're building these cabinets. Just cam lock it and go. And I saw a couple of questions here. Sony 4K, Tony C, they're wanting some cockpits. That's like insanity. I mean, a challenge for you, right?
It sounds like something fun, because I like different. I like being different. I don't like copying other people. That's one of the things, like, I think that there's plenty of room in the space too. I don't want to copy and try to rip off, buy stuff of a product that they're doing. If they're doing it well and doing it right, let them, right? I think there's plenty of room to go around for everybody. and to offer, you know, stuff that's unique and not being done. So
Yeah, and that's like,
yeah,
trust me,
try not to just like try not to be another Etsy shop, you know, that's just hitting print on a 3D printer of somebody else's design. Like I want to make something that's unique, different, that you can't get. And if somebody is offering a version of it and I'm offering something, I'm offering it because I, you know, feel that mine's, you know, done differently or better, right? I've improved upon it or something. So
yeah. I think you know, so I know you wanted to start out with like just deluxe, and for those that you guys that are getting in here, this is kind of like the, I don't want to say finished prototype, but it's a much more advanced stage from what we first saw when you kind of unveiled this on Michael B's show. Paul Miniman's got a question here, and this is,
I see that on every channel.
Yep. So let me tell you something. I know you kind of said, "Hey, look, I'm good with deluxe." That's what a lot of people have. And I can put a poll up, guys. We'll let Joel kind of take over here, but I'll pull up a poll. We'll do deluxe XL. Is that ever something that, because if you've seen it a lot, I mean, I feel like you're kind of cutting out 50% more or less of potential sales. You know, do you see yourself once you start getting the process down of these things? Hey, maybe I'll offer an XL variant, and let's just say something cookie cutter like a Nintendo cab or a Dynamo form factor. Is that something that's ever crossed your mind? Or are you like, hey, right now it's just deluxe, and that's kind of my lane that I want to be in?
No, I mean, I'm not ruling anything completely out. Really, the thought process was with this was trying to keep it as simple as possible, and to make things as efficient as possible too, right? So kind of the whole premise with this was to try to design this cab up and around Arcade 1-Up parts that were readily available so that people could bring their own screens and decks and things like that. But I've recognized, and I listen and take feedback and, you know, criticism, and that's part of being a designer and stuff. You learn that in art and design school right away, not to take any of your stuff to heart. And to over the past 15 years, I've heard plenty of, you know, I've been beat down a lot of my designs. None of them are really my babies. So it's kind of, it evolves, and that's what makes them better and makes better product. So I'm not ruling anything out, and I'm seeing and hearing that people would possibly like it if the demand's there. It could be definitely an option, because it really, you know, it sounds like, and what I'm discovering, I don't have any deluxe or not, I don't have any XLs myself, but from what I've heard, you know, it's basically a difference of 3 inches of just making the cab wider. So if I get to the point, and I'm starting to, it seems, of doing my own decks, and that becomes more popular, people want decks from, if I'm sending out more orders of finished cabs with decks and bezels and stuff like that, and it's going to be a no-brainer. Like, all right, well, people obviously they want the cab in the way that I'm offering it. There's not as much interest to bring their own parts and pieces and piece it together. They rather take all the stuff that I'm offering. And if it's just a matter of stretching some of the parts that I'm offering by 3 inches to make an XL, that's really a no-brainer. So
yeah, so there you go. So now you can kind of spray. And I put up a poll in the chat, and the poll is simple.
To start off, trying to keep it simple as possible too, so that, because I don't have the best systems yet. I'm still figuring this out on my own. In fact, you know, I sent a package out, a riser last week, and I don't think it arrived to the guy yet, but I realized I forgot to include a sticker that I was supposed to, because I didn't, it was a sticker that he had ordered that wasn't for the specific model of the riser. So it wasn't like he had ordered a Star Wars riser, and he also ordered a Capcom sticker. So through my process, I didn't have this checks and balances of like, oh, by the way, dummy, make sure you include this other piece of his order. It was like, normally people are ordering, like an X-Men riser. And so then there's always that trigger in my head of what other components I should double check and make sure that I
Yeah.
need to include. Do they want a Capcom sticker that goes with this X-Men riser type thing, and those are
Yeah.
things, but I didn't make that connection. And I realized as I was going through my list, checking things and moving things from, what's been shipped and what's been made and what's, where I need to be, I realized, oh crap, I forgot to send him a sticker for this Capcom sticker. So I emailed him right away and let him know, just heads up, it's not in there and it will be coming behind it. So I'm still trying to figure some of that stuff out. So the least complex I can keep some of this stuff as I'm still figuring out how to have a system in place to be able to make this stuff quickly and move it out of the shop quickly,
Yeah.
more efficient, more universal of parts that I can have that translate from one cab or one product to another, so that I can just be making multiples and have a stockpile of, just universal parts and pieces, that are ready to go, and then just making some of the
Yeah.
custom
Yeah.
unique stuff as the orders come in. Because I don't have like a warehouse either that I can just keep a stockpile of,
That's the other
or
garage.
the financial means to be sitting on
Yeah.
a pile of parts and cabs either. So these are still kind of going to be built and made to order.
To order. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I know, I've seen that in Bill's stream, that some people were questioning, like, yeah, how quickly is he going to be able to be knocking these out? Isn't G.I. Joe a one-man guy in his garage? So that was one thing I kind of wanted to address with the community too, was like, it is true. Yeah, right now I am a one-man guy, one-man show in his garage. But I'm not afraid to scale up. So, and well, as I mentioned earlier, my past background and experience in manufacturing and product design, I haven't been building these from the approach of me building them as a craftsman or a cabinet maker, woodworker, and stuff. I've been trying to design them out so that that as much as the uniqueness that I'm bringing to the table is in the design, and it's being then just hit go and cut on the machine, and then having the tools and system in place to kind of progress it and move it through, so there's the least amount of need for experience or a certain talent or craft to be employed. So I don't have to like go out and find an experienced woodworker or cabinet maker to be alongside me to replicate the quality and output of the products that I'm making. I can basically buy a second CNC machine, right? And then my output starting to double. But then I also, I can hire somebody on and give them basic factory training of move this part from here to here. This is how you apply edge banding, with this machine. Here's a checklist of parts that you need to collect and how it needs to be packaged and put together. Hit ship, take it to the post office, so trying to make it so that it's scalable too. So
Yeah. It's more
right
streamlined.
now I am
Nice.
one man in a garage and these are being made and cut to order, but I've been trying to design the process so that it is as scalable as possible, so that if it does take off or I do need to take on, additional help of one or two people, or I mean, hey, I'd love to be building a building and have 30 CNCs and be, pumping these out with 60 employees. Why not? Right. I mean,
That's the end game right there.
right? Yeah. I mean,
Let's
I'm
go.
not looking to get rich. I want to pay my bills, support my family, and enjoy my life doing it. So,
And there has to be some sort of like, just being a business owner. And I used to run, me and my wife used to run our own Etsy shop. we would get discouraged if, the orders that came in that day, we didn't have them shipped out by the next day, right? Like that's like your goal. It's kind of like shit in, shit out at the end of the day. And you want to just keep it pumping, because the more you get behind now, the more stressful it is. The orders typically don't stop. They just kind of keep on going. So if you can get them in and out and checked off, you feel great at the end of the day. And that's really that feeling that, we live in such a microwave era where people want their stuff in 30 seconds. I mean, Amazon can literally same day ship something. I ordered something. I needed a brick to charge my power dock here, and I literally got it in 3 hours. Like, that's insanity, right? And I could have easily waited a week for it. Like, I'm not a big rush kind of guy, right? But people are, and you see the time that other companies may take. I know, I think Zabo's hired some help on his end, so he's really kind of knocking down those times. And I think, Joel, you're gonna follow suit. The more that you tend to get orders, the more you're doing this, the better and easier things are just gonna fall in line for you, for sure. Um, but yeah, I know Dudes Arcade had a question here. He said, I like the 3/4 deluxe form factor when we're talking about XL to 3/4 scale. By the way, there is a poll in the chat, guys. Go vote so we can kind of get some guidance here on what Joel could possibly maybe start doing. Anything bigger would look weird in my arcade. Now, Dudes Arcade, listen, I am probably the most anal guy when it comes to size, form factors, dimensions. My wife really helped me get over that. When we brought in Time Crisis to Pinball, Big Buck, I got 2 XLs in my arcade, and it's majority deluxe cabs. So it doesn't look too weird. Honestly, like Joel was saying, they're about 3 inches wider, maybe 2-3 inches taller. It's about the same type of shape. So don't kind of paint yourself in a box. If there's an XL cabinet out there that you really want to get, you can add it in. It's not gonna look crazy in your home arcade. Now, Zero Redux has a quick question. He says, when are we gonna see the next prototype? So as far as the pictures that we showed tonight of the Nintendo cab, is that pretty much like near complete as far as a prototype goes? Like, do you plan on? I know, like in Nintendo cabs, they have bezel artwork on that front plexi. Is that something that you're just
Yeah.
leaving up to the person who orders from Zabos, or are you gonna showcase that off in a prototype to kind of say, hey, look, here's the final render that I'm gonna put on my website. Price is gonna be X amount of money. Have at it, Haas, kind of thing, and then you're gonna move on to the next one. And we already know that the next one is going to be. I'm having a blank here. Robotron. There we go. Robotron. So is it? You said that you're in the production of doing that. So where are we at as far as finishing the Nintendo cab prototype and then moving on and seeing what getting another cab on the website to buy?
So yeah, what you see there with the Nintendo cab, it's about 90% there. Like I said, I want to add that change door on the bottom and shelf inside a rack for NES carts for the play choice specific. So I want to be able to show that, have that prototyped out, and for people to see that as an option. The next, you mentioned the front plexi. So that's been the struggle with the play choice, is there wasn't really a lot as far as artwork on the plexi that they put on the play choices. However, transitioning probably the next prototype that you'll see, and you'll see it probably relatively soon. I've already been working on kind of the artwork. So like all this artwork and stuff and the marquee and stuff is all like prototype stuff that I did here at my own house on my inkjet, type equipment and stuff. So it's not even like professionally type stuff done. It's just kind of mock up to show and to see what it would look like. But I've already started working on some of that for a Versus cab. So I've had the Versus cart in this play choice and been loving it so much that I was like, I want a Versus Super Mario Brothers dedicated cabinet now too in my game room. So that's going to be the next prototype, I guess, that you guys see. That will be almost kind of not really a prototype, but probably more of the final and first one-off of production. But be able to showcase them next to each other, a couple different variants of it. I'm going to do it in the orange. And then that one they did do artwork on the front plexi. So I'm going to do some artwork on the plexi of the Mario versus and have that on there. Plus, it's a different variant of the coin door, so we'll be able to show the differences in the coin doors and stuff. So we'll have those. That should be here in another. I should probably have that finished up here in another week or two with that one, so people will see. Kind of targeting to have these available for order and buttoned up, starting to take orders in July is kind of what I'm hoping for people. I don't have pricing just yet because, like I said, there's going to be different couple different variations that are going to be available. So I just kind of have to work out what the details of each of those variants are and what I want to offer. And the big thing I was trying to figure out was to seam or not to seam. Do I leave the panels all one solid piece or not? And what it looks like is it's a difference of maybe about $75 as far as shipping goes, to do a solid 60-inch panel versus a 47-inch panel, and to do it in two pieces. So
I might get a lot of flack for this, but I would probably say cut it. You know what I mean? And I know, like, I don't know. I mean, you just got to make sure you got that. Do you have a deluxe cab, Joel, at all? Like an RK1 of deluxe at all?
I don't have any deluxes. I have the IA Arcade. So one of
Okay.
one of the requests that came in from a couple people in your chat already too, that was hey, what about a bar top version of this?
Oh yeah.
So, and not like a shrunk down bar top version. They mean just like a bar top version.
No, it's
So
like an
that,
MDSX essentially.
if
Yeah.
I were to seam it, probably seam it right, right underneath the speaker panel there, and then
Yeah.
it would
Yeah.
come in two pieces. Then you have the option to have a bar top, have the option to make it into a full deluxe later on down the road if you
Yeah.
wanted to, and buy a stand.
And
But so that's been kind of a debate of, do I put a seam in it or not?
and yeah.
$75 difference in shipping, roughly, just from some of the random places I've picked out and punched in some of the basic, weights and measurements of this, and it's two different form factors.
Yeah.
And it's a different, it's basically $100 to kind of ship it from me to New Mexico in a cut form, or $175 to ship,
And you guys
smaller.
got to think too, like the $75 that could be your screen right there. And I know people would, pay an arm and a leg. This stuff adds up quick, guys. When we do modding here, $800 to $1,000, this thing can get out of control quickly. So you guys, there's a reason why Arcade One Up seams it. And at the end of the day, guys, and you guys leave your comments and we'll get to them here. When you side art, get a Joe Sabo side art, then the seam doesn't matter. It gets all covered up anyways and stuff, and it's barely noticeable. So I think to save nearly $100, I think you seam it. And like you said, now you have this cookie cutter kind of option now to where you could just produce the bar top without having to custom cut things now randomly and do this, that, and the other. And if someone wanted to then turn this into a 3/4 scale, whatever the case may be, they can go ahead and do so later down the road. And, things change, circumstances change. And I kind of like that, the flexibility of it. Max, who's a new, and we had a new channel member here. I'm all about the afterburner. So I'm telling you, man, you might want to put an afterburner somewhat higher on that limit top 5. Like to get that on the list. That might be one that
That one,
look
I
at Prince
mean,
Vinny.
like I said, it's possibility, but it's going to take a little bit of time too, because you're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about mold design and cutting molds and doing some prototypes. I mean, it's not as going to be quick. And even this has been kind of a year in development of, I've learned a lot from building the risers and stuff and the stands for the CornerCade stands, of, and what parts and pieces that I need to order, what kind of cams and posts and dowels that I can use, and getting the tools that I needed, then figuring out the specs and tolerances of where to place those to be able to get your cams, tight, and to
yeah,
pump it out on the CNC and to line it all up. So there's been I said I pumped it out, in 2 days, the design, but, it was kind of a year in development of trial and school of hard knocks of learning with the CornerCade stands as well, of bringing
yeah,
all
yeah.
that together. Whereas now you're adding some complexity with, building molds and thermal forms and stuff like that. But so that one, I wouldn't expect that one in 2025, but maybe 2026 Afterburner we could look at. Maybe
Look at
this
that.
time
Look at
next
that.
year we might be talking about, an Afterburner rollout for
Holy
the
moly.
summer. I don't know.
Hey, that would be cool for sure. Vic Vicious says, Joel, when are we going to see prices? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit. And will you offer shop or Klarna type payments on your
I
website?
think my site does have that option,
Oh,
if
that's
I'm not
dope. Let's go.
mistaken, already.
Look
I
at
mean,
that. Yeah.
I think it's
Well,
already there as an option for checkout but if not, I know I can enable it.
guys,
Because
you should
my
definitely do
stuff
that.
does go through. So PayPal is one of them, and then what is the other one? Stripe
Oh,
is as I
Stripe.
see
Okay.
it. But
I
that
use like
gets
Shop Pay and
processed as
yeah.
Apple Pay and Google Pay and all that. It seems so. But I'm pretty sure
Um,
like they do offer like a like a 4 payment financing plan through those programs and stuff too. But
I'm gonna need one of my moderators. Can you toss Joel's website in the chat here? I know I have his link to his website in this video's description as well. Yeah, that'd be. I mean, that's cool. Like because depending on the price of these things, that obviously could help. Looking back at the poll right now, I got 28 votes, so a good chunk of the change here from the chat that says, "Would you buy an XL GI Joel shell from Joel?" And it's 75% yes, buddy, and it just went up 76%. Yeah, so I think just if you do what you feel comfortable, but I think in the future, I think you should definitely offer a drop down where if you wanted said, let's say Dynamo cab, right, or Nintendo cab, right, you can select deluxe or XL variant, and it'll kind of just display a new image on, and it'll
right.
show the dimensions and everything. I think that would be a really good idea. 'Cause you know what?
Yeah,
We
I'd
want to
love to. I'm
handicap any
trying to
sales,
walk. I'm trying to walk before I sprint. So
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I've had this Nintendo idea and plan for a long time, but I didn't want to announce it because I didn't want people. I didn't want to tell people, "Hey, I'm going to make a Nintendo cab," and that was like 6 to 9 months ago, and people like, "Hey, where is it?" and stuff.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that really kickstarted me. Was like Stock Jock booked us on Mike B's show or whatever to talk about some of the stuff that I had planned, and I was like, well, if I'm going to talk about what I got planned, I don't want to just talk. I want to have something to show. I don't want to just be talk. So I was like, I'm going to pump something out here, and wherever it's at, prototype form, I'll show it on Mike B's, and that way at least gives people. It's not just, hey, I'm thinking about making a Nintendo cab. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
So
yeah, because there's just a lot of that. I think you want to be like 90% completed. Hey, look, guys, not only can you see this here live, but actually you can start pre-orders tonight or next week. Like that's like you're following the hype train, and to like B Kirby said yesterday on Mike B stream, his community show, you don't want to leave people with like. Now, like for me, for example, I pre-ordered John D's, XXL, iconic arcade, right? Now I have 6 months to think about, should I have really done that? I kind of have stuff here. Maybe I should just cancel, right? You want to get the train while it's hot. You want to hit it while it's rolling. And speaking of B Kirby, we got a super chat coming in here for
I saw that.
$5. Thank you so much, man, for supporting the channel. Joel, if you need any help cranking these out, let me know. I have everything it takes, CNC and a huge shop. I don't want any money, just a cabinet. Let's do this. Holy cow. So you could be like networking with all these other CNC people.
I wanna meet up with B Kirby. The more I've gotten to know him just through seeing some of his posts in the chats, some of the stuff he's talked about and what he has, I'd love to hang out with him and see his shop and stuff. It sounds like he's got quite a space. So I love.
He's a good guy. Listen, no offense to anybody, but if you have my phone number, you're a good guy. And B Kirby and I text all the time. It's just the people that you meet in the home arcade community, phenomenal people. Just there's a lot of good people out there, man. It's super cool. But thank you, man, for supporting the channel. As always, you don't have to. Prince Vinny asked, what did I used to sell? Me and my wife used to sell baby onesies on Etsy, believe it or not. And Joel, to your credit, like when you get an order, it's like, okay, we got 30 orders, but oh crap, there's like 50 onesies of each because they want to do like some kind of giveaway party or something like that. You're like, so you're cranking out 200, items to 35 orders. And that would be like, you come home from work and now you're cranking things out. This is your second job, but we're like 3 in the morning at night kind of thing. So trust me, we know exactly how you're feeling when it comes to this stuff. It can be a lot, especially for a one-man band like
I
yourself.
suffer a little bit from anxiety. The two anxiety thing that brings me the most anxiety of this whole business is one, waking up in every morning to check my phone to see if I have any emails of people, upset because it's taken so long to get their stuff, right? Because I've been there. I know how it is. And two is an email from somebody who's upset because their package arrived damaged because UPS punted it all the way down to Florida or something, or drug it behind their truck, and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, the two anxieties that I get is through shipping and just I try to keep people as happy, as possible. I'm a member of the community. I'm a modder. I know what it's like I've sent money across the internet to some random person I don't know, so much, and you've taken, a gamble. So I know I hate sitting on people's money, and I know that feeling of being worried of whether you're not going to get something or not. So I trying to get this stuff out as quickly as possible, but then that was part of my challenge up until now is, I was focused on pump out the orders. And once I get caught up on the orders, I'll get to some of the new product design, and some of the R&D and stuff. And now I'm realizing I'm just never really going to get caught up on orders. I need to carve out a little bit of time here and there, dedicate to, all right, we're going to develop a little bit of a new product here, or work on a prototype today, or just in the afternoon, do some orders in the morning. And it's all a learning process. Time management. I'm a terrible planner, terrible time management. Those are not my strong suits. I work with my hands. I'm a problem solver, a thinker. I build and make stuff, and I just like tinkering. I'm not as I mentioned on Mike's stream, I'm not a people person. I live out in the middle of the nowhere in the woods, I like
in fact, you hate
COVID.
people, right?
I was training for COVID my entire life. I was so excited when COVID hit, and we had to stay indoors and social distance and not go near anybody. I was like, oh, I'm living the dream now, right?
You're living the dream, right? Yeah.
It's funny for I'm actually 4 months there. Sometimes my family and my wife and kid, that was a little bit too much, still yet a little too much personal people interaction. It was like me and my dog was just about enough, right? But
that's funny.
So
I'm the same way. I'm
learning
an
how to
outgoing
be a people person, be a business
every
owner.
day. Yeah, exactly. You're wearing multiple hats. I told friends and family members and everything. I could just live in the arcade in the house. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I never have to leave this place, right? And I'm a people person, so I can only imagine. My wife suffers from anxiety, and so she's kind of like the same way. But she's funny. She's a little bit more outgoing than I am, and I realize that I'm kind of like the homebody. She likes to go out and have fun. So it's a learning process for everybody involved, kind of thing. Brooklyn, thank you so much, man, for stopping by. Let's go. Paul Mindeman says, hit me up for survey data, G.I. Joel. It's always roughly 2-to-1 as XLs as a preferred size. And I've heard, Paul Mindeman, aka Neo Hyper 64, kind of break this out. And he's not wrong. And I think, when I was a big deluxe guy, right? And I still am. 90% of my arcade is deluxe. But when I got my hands on the NBA Jam XL, I got my hands on the Midway Golden Tee here, and I'm kind of just playing. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this is kind of better. Like the marquee is over your head. You can't see over the thing. It just replicates more of what a real arcade is, right? You get the option now to have that 19-inch screen in there, which actually is better. It is a little bit better. And so, again, I was fine with deluxe. If XL never came to fruition, if you never make an XL, whatever the case may be, right? Fine with it. But I think if we have that option now and you get your hands on it, guys, and if you don't have an XL, get one, because I think it will change your perception. It just kind of sucks that there's just not a lot of options for XL. And Joel, this is kind of where you can become, hey, you want Mortal Kombat XL? I'm your guy. I produce a Midway form factor XL or a Dynamo XL. I mean, to this day right now, we do not have an XL Dynamo. We don't have an XL Midway unless you want to go buy. I mean, I've seen the Killer Instinct Pro for like $2,000 on eBay. I don't think that's worth it at all. So you can really be that kind of vocal piece to where, hey, this is like a one of a kind product. If you wanted that XL embodiment, because to Paul's point, we have a lot of people that do want that. And I think offering both when you can get to that point, I think that's a win for you and everybody else, 100%. Let's see here. Mike Kurtz. Items I want to buy from G.I. Joel: 1 Nintendo style deluxe cab, 2 XL stands for his CornerCade stand, and 3 more inline risers to go with my existing 3. That's awesome. The inline risers have never stopped, have they? That's a good thing. Joel,
No, and I've been promising those XL stands for like over a year now, and I need to get on it and make them offered as a option.
Yeah, it's all in due time, right? When you get some more help, right? James hates everything. Thank you so much, man, for stopping by. Jason, thank you for putting the link into the description here. I know it's I'm a little behind in the chat, but that's okay. Thor KC says, honestly, if you could build an afterburner that resembles anywhere close to the approximate of the weighted flight stick, I bet there'd be a lot of people will pay easily $1,000 for it. And I heard somebody I don't know if it was Thor KC, but somebody said, hey, partner with Glenn and get that stick. You know, it's kind of like a Tron stick, but it's on that that's like that hook design, right? Like get that flight stick. I mean, that maybe could be a possibility. I mean, you got two, third-party companies here kind of coming together to offer like an A-tier quality product. I mean, do you see yourself reaching out to a Joe Sabos, Buy Stuff Arcades, Glenn? Is there opportunity there that maybe you could see? I mean, I know you're not a people person, right? But could you shoot an email?
No,
do you think that's possible?
No, it's for sure. Those conversations, I can actually tell you, are already taking place. I'm already talking with people. They've reached out to me. I've reached out to them. Buy Stuff, Glenn and them. So we've even long before this, we've all been talking a bit, but we're continuing to talk and wish each other success and trying ways to partner and help each other out as much as possible. So yeah, there's people bring different specialties and expertise to the table. Like I said, with Robotron, when we're offering that's going to be more of a cut and dry. Like with the Nintendo cab, there's so many different options that people are going to want with it. So I want to try to keep it as simple, but allow for the people to have those options. Robotron is more of a cut and dry. So when I offer Robotron, it's probably going to be, there's probably not going to be as many options, and it's going to be closer to a complete cab. And probably anything I offer as far as controls go are probably going to be Glenn's, Thunderstick GRS controls and stuff. I think he makes an awesome product at quality. It's quality built, and I don't know how he sells it at the prices that he does. Everything, for my own custom builds of my own arcades, I've been always impressed with the spinners and the track balls and the buttons and the joysticks that I get from him. I think it's great stuff. So when we do and offer Robotron, it probably will come, and I'm not even sure if it will be an option not to have Glenn, joystick and buttons in it. I don't know. We'll see how when we get there, when we start working out those details. But some of the cabs, as we roll them out, that are more specific, they probably won't be as open to as much flexibility and offer more of a complete. Because I mean, unless people really want to bring their own controls and stuff, they're going to end up buying, Glenn's stuff anyways to put in a Robotron. So why not just have it all arrive at the same time?
Yeah, because you don't want to build a shell and then you're just looking at the shell and you're like, well, I got to wait another 2 weeks or so for the controls. That's kind of how I feel.
The thing with the Nintendos, though, is there's just so much flexibility. Like if you're going to do a play choice with an Intech deck and stuff like that, or you're going to be, however you want to be running Donkey Kong or something off of it, whether you're going to do a Pi or you're going to do a Viper board, or, people have a lot of different preferences when it comes to that type of stuff. there were so many different options that it was like, well, I don't, and it's Nintendo. I didn't really want to screw around with too much of that gray area with Nintendo, but
Yeah, you want to keep it basic. And the cool thing, guys, so when you talk about Robotron cab, right? You're building that what Bally Williams style. I mean, you could put like Sinistar in there. I mean, so here's the thing. Arcade One Up did a great job with the Joust cabinet, right? But it wasn't really that right form factor. It's a midway form factor. The screen was messed up. It's on a riser. We never got that deluxe. You could take that PCB, you could take the guts in there, and you can make this a Bubbles cabinet. Like, how damn cool would that be to have the right form factor? Now, I'm not saying everybody here's a Bubbles fan, right? But it's something new. It's something fresh in your home arcade. You can see that beautiful Zabos marquee. I mean, guys, you can see the Darkstalkers right behind me. The marquee is stunning, and you're going to see in the film, like, he does exceptional work, exceptional art on that thing. So you could do, your Joust, you could do your Sinistar. They make a Sinistar PCB. I had in the Midway Golden Tee, right? See, there's a lot of possibilities that you can now come up with even in that cabinet. So the Nintendo cab, that gives you like 10 options right there of customization. It's not just the one Popeye. It's play choice. You were talking about the Super Mario Brothers. It's Donkey Kong. It's Donkey Kong Jr. I mean, it goes on and on, right? So there's a lot of different variants that you can do with a lot of different things. And even people to this day, and I'm not a big Defender guy, right? But they want that Defender cab. Now you have a chance to make a Defender Deluxe with the right control panel where maybe some people will take that, Mortal Kombat PCB and just use it for Defender, and that's it. I mean, we're at the point now where we got, 3, 4, 5 Mortal Kombat cabs. I think it's okay to sacrifice one, right? So there's just so much possibility with just thinking outside of just like, narrowly looking at, okay, here's the render of a wood box, right? There's so much possibilities that this can go where then it gets my mind thinking, right? It gets my mind thinking of a prototype, Joel, that we saw that I almost dropped my pants over, no joke. And I'm going to show it on stream, and I want to know if it's possible in the future. I think this one is one of those top 5 things that you could possibly do. And let's bring this down. Could you possibly do this guy right here, a 6-player X-Men? And I think, this is the width of 2 deluxes. It's got the 24-inch screen in there. It's got the 6 players. Is something like this, like if you can somehow get dimensions to this, is something like this possible? And chat, what do you think? Would you buy this from Joel if he could do it?
I don't like even just getting taking a guess and rough stab at those dimensions isn't too difficult. So like you said, but like just settling on what we wanted to do. If we wanted it to be 2 deluxe next to each other, and we just measure that out and scale everything, kind of what I'm doing too. And I'm building all these things from my own designs too. So that, the Nintendo cab isn't a, Nintendo cab or a copy of, how they built the Nintendo cabs and stuff. It's my own interpretation. So, I feel more confident that, nobody can be upset that I stole anything from them. And I think I'm going to continue that with all of my designs. That's one of the things I really like about the Deluxe and XL scale is it's not just taking an exact replica cabinet and shrinking it down to a certain factor. You got to get it allows for a little bit of room of play and creativity with it. Because you're stretching things a little bit. And the way that design and difference between like design patents and utility patents, even though I'm not sure there's any design patents on any of these cabs. And if they are, they're probably expired. But in the world of patents, design patents are one of the easiest things to get around because you just change, small little things to a shape and design, and it's considered different. So they're one of the least effective things to get a patent on is a design patent versus like a utility patent of how something operates and functions or is made. So designing this up, would be probably not too bad. The tricky part is probably how expensive it's going to be to ship because it's going to be probably at least twice the price of. You almost got twice the weight of 2 cabs and stuff there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not paying. I have a terrible time paying attention to the chats when I'm in these streams and stuff. So I don't know. Are people really wanting this monstrosity in their game
Well,
room?
well, I highlighted some comments here. And the B Me said, Danny, that's insane, but man, that would be impressive. And I think this is something that, again, you're kind of designating two spots in your arcade, but man, I mean, what a showpiece. Somebody
The
comes into
tricky
your
part,
arcade
I
and says,
mean,
holy
so
cow, look at that.
I'm not a licensing guy, and I'm not like uh, a game. I'm not really like a game developer, software hacker guy. You know, I don't know coding and stuff like that. So the trickier part probably is just how you going to run it. I imagine them you can probably run it off of a Pi and a MAME board, you know, out of a MAME ROM for it or whatever. There's probably a 6-player option available. So it's probably not going to be that difficult, but
Yeah, maybe
those
like
are things that I
PlayStation.
can't really
Yeah.
bring to the table. I can
No, no,
design and
no.
make anything you guys want, really is how I
Yeah.
look at it and feel. But when it comes
Well,
to
there
the
you go.
electronics and how it's going to run, that's where I need a little bit of help from people if I'm going to offer that. But if people can bring that already to the table, then have at it. Some of the things I think is going to be fun and exciting that I'd like to do and move into a little bit is just offering upgrade mod cabs, like you were saying, like the Atari 50th anniversary cab or whatever. What's the game you were saying that
So
um
Asteroids is the one that like it takes after that form factor shell.
not Asteroid,
Um
but there was another one I think you
no.
mentioned in
I
the past
Yeah,
that
and somebody
your
somebody
favorite
said it
game.
in the somebody said it in the chat here. Let me
It's a
see if I
unique
can scroll
kind of
up and
styled
find it.
cab, and it was way different than anything that they've offered. Crystal Castles, is it? Yeah.
Yep, there it is. So can you
So
imagine taking
I
the
mean,
guts to
yeah,
any Atari cab and
drop
slapping it
in
into a Crystal
PCBs
Castles?
and make
Yes.
your PCB look nicer. That's the essence of what I want to do with the Space Invaders. I think we just owe it to Space Invaders, right? We can get it in a 6 scale, we can get it in a quarter scale. My arcade,
Yeah.
for heaven's sakes, did a decent job in one of their iterations of it. So here we have arcade one up that did it in 3/4 and it was that shark fin, which I have nothing against the shark fin, but
It's just
that's such a
it's dated at
beautiful,
this point,
unique
you know?
looking cab that needs
Yeah.
to. And what I
Like
really like personally, I like the Tato version of the Space
yes.
Invaders cab, right?
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
with that white and stuff and that kind of unique little front end, but I'd like to someday maybe offer that too. But I think what you probably will see it sooner is just a regular the drawing a blank the whatever Space Invaders it's not Tato, is it? Or Tato? Yeah, it is Tato. What
Well,
was it?
as
It's Tato, the Tato cab. It's the Midway. Was it Midway?
well, it's on like a projector, right? And
I'm
it's
lost.
got
There's
that funky. It's a
I don't
funky
think it's the
design.
Tato. It was like I think it Midway offered a version of the cab. That's maybe what I'm thinking. Getting my terrible with memory numbers and words things. But anyways, they did a second version of it that had like the white panels on the side, and it kind of had like this extruded control panel that came out of it. And I think Midway like offered the cab as like in a different kind of smaller form factor. So there's the regular one that we know with like the solid side panels, the solid blue that everybody
Yeah.
see, and they all had like I think the same the ghost pepper effect or whatever screens in them. The cab
Yeah.
was a little bit different. We haven't seen that iteration of the cab, the Midway or whatever I think version of it. Yes, that's it.
Yep.
I think that one's one of my favorite. Just the cab look from a cab standpoint. I
Yeah.
like different, unique, and I don't know. I think that
And
white
that's
pops.
exactly. And listen, the shark fin is fine, but so was the home phone back in the day, right? But we upgraded to cell phones. Like so it was a great intro, but now we're just craving and wanting more. And that, taking the guts of that and putting it into this, that's that unique, the unique form factor that, like, wow, that's something cool. That's not all cookie cutter matchy, you know, that's something you want to get away from. And I think it's something that just, you know, that's something that we all grew into and now we're all growing out of, kind of thing. So I mean, this would be cool. I mean, that's what, you know, it's pay homage. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing. We're re-going back. Like Frogger is a great one, for example. Like, how cool would that be to put that in the Pac-Man Plus Cabaret? Or could you build a Cabaret style cabinet that might be a little bit shorter or something? Remember, you've seen those in arcades, like the real ones. They're like the size, they're like smaller than an arcade one up. And like, how cool would it be to put the Frogger guts into that thing and truly having something from the 70s, 80s that looks bomb? Like, that's something different, something unique in your home arcade. I mean, that's something that each arcade is like a piece of history, and it's something that you truly want to replicate to make it, to make a home arcade. Arcades weren't just all midway cabinets, right? They're all different form factors, all different sizes, and I think that's where
Right.
you really need to go.
Yeah, so I
Moving
think at a
forward.
minimum it deserves that form factor look, but I'm exploring and looking into what the options could be to be able to do the pepper ghost effect or whatever in it. It looks like it could be challenging and quite
That could
expensive
be
doing
cool.
the
That,
scale
yeah.
that we want to do. But so at a minimum, at least having that cab form factor and the buttons on the deck rather than the joystick, I think at least is what it deserves at a minimum. But still looking into and not completely ruling out, playing with the screen. But if we were to do that, I think then you're starting over from almost scratch. Doing a run it, you're better off running it off of a Pi or something rather than the arcade one-up board. So what I'm seeing, you're getting into either some sort of really expensive converters and stuff, boxes, or a special screen that you're going to have to get to first mirror the output that the board's creating so that you can have that reverse mirrored screen hidden down in the base that's reflecting on, basically they call it like a beam splitting mirror glass. And
Yeah.
so, and they put that on like a 45-degree angle in there. And so it passes through that, and the image is grabbed and projected onto it. So that special glass, that beam splitting mirror glass, isn't too cheap, but then also finding a display that will flip and invert the output is not too cheap either. And unfortunately, I've reached out a little bit, and from what I'm hearing, that's like one of those Gen 1 boards, and they don't have even like a USB port on them
No,
to
they don't.
get into them
Yeah,
to even
it's bare
try
bones
to
on those ports.
hack
Yeah.
it to be able to get it to do anything that you want. So you're kind of, it's like you may have to start all
I think
over.
people would just take the BOE screen and, you know, hey, there's only so much you could do, but is, you know, the different form factor, shape, and design. If you have that old cabinet that you kind of want to bring into 2025, where you have a deluxe variant of that has a brand new everything, I think I would be interested in that. And I'm not even a Space Invader guy, but to have the marquee, the form factor, and to be able to play a different game, I mean, that's what we're all about, and that's what we're trying to do over here. Just kind of bring some of those old games back to fruition. I did have a couple renders that were sent in, and one of the products that I wanted to talk to you about, you know, we talked about these custom deluxe cabs, is something that I've gotten asked, and I know you've gotten asked. And so this is one of those renders. Now, you see here, this is Alien versus Predator in a big blue cab, right? And if you're a big blue owner of Arcade One Up, I'm sure you've replaced your control panel by now. If you haven't, hit up 99 Lives, or maybe in the future here, GI Joel. But you notice on the kick plate, that front panel, that kind of three-dimensional comes out of you that implements a real big blue. I think if you could take that product and pair it with an inline riser as like a dual combo product, because you know, depending on the size, like we have B Me in here, he's like 6'4" or something. B Me, you got to get Joel's inline risers because they can go up 4 inches, and that's exactly what you need to add to your pre-existing cabinets. Will definitely help you with that. But I think if you have those two products and you can kind of then adjust the height with the said inline riser, I think this could be a big seller to kind of refresh some of those old big blue cabinets. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that's worth your R&D to kind of make something like this? Have you gotten feedback on that? I know I have, to kind of push towards you. What do you think? Is this something that's doable?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I mean, I'd love to be able to offer all this stuff tomorrow, to everybody. You know? And some of this, like, you know, you've been bringing up and talking about this kick plate extension idea for a couple weeks now, but it was something that was brought up to me maybe about a year ago and has been on the bucket list of to-dos, just something I haven't been able to kind of get to. And it was originally talked about for like an MK cab. Somebody wanted to do it, and so we were talking about possibly doing it. And it's not that difficult. I don't think, you know. The tricky part is just how to meet it up to the top underneath the cab to make it, if we want to really make it look right and clean and stuff. You know, some of those cabs, the decks are a little bit different on each of them, and you know how the overhang and stuff, but that was where I was kind of wanting to get my hands on. It seems like the Street Fighter 2 Deluxe cab is one of the most customizable, versatile options, especially from what you and Ezekiel have been showcasing with it. You know, just the different, using that dynamo to do different things. Even James, you know, is building a cool Akari Warriors and stuff. You know, him and I have been working on together, getting him stuff for that. So I kind of want to get my hands on a cheap one so that, you know, I have it here to get some of the specs. Because even you were talking about that Robocop marquee,
The marquee,
that curved
yep.
marquee. I was looking at some of my other ones and stuff. I think that would be. I was basically almost making a curved marquee on the Nintendo because I didn't want to take it apart to put my curved marquee in it, and so I was kind of bending it to try to pop it into place, trying to take a shortcut. And that was where I was kind of like, you know, it wouldn't be that hard to actually make a curved marquee. So, but it's just more of having the specs and figuring out how the best way of like mounting and connecting it, so that, because like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I don't want people to have to like go to the hardware store and when this arrives, they have to figure out how they're going to mount it too. You know, I want it to be as plug and play as possible. So anything that I can utilize from existing mounts and holes that are available to it, you know, if we can swap out one thing to, you know, give support to another, or pop it on and replace it. And, you know, it just kind of is a friction fit, or a couple screws that are, you know, kind of hidden to make it look right and nice. But I don't have, unfortunately, over the past couple of years, I haven't had like an infinite budget to have like a stockpile of all the cabs that they were making. So, you know, it's kind of just been the ones that I've had, or leaning upon getting people's help from getting specs via the internet. But, you know, getting measurements and specs is one thing, but it's kind of, sometimes it's better and easier just to have it in hand and to be able to look at it. And some of this stuff, it requires a little bit of problem solving too, right? Of like kind of looking at it and like, all right, yeah, I can design this aesthetically looking nice piece that's going to go on it, but how do we connect it and make it work, you know, and make it permanently on there so it's not going to like fall off onto somebody's cat. We don't want any cat accidents and stuff like that, you know.
Think you could take a lot from the Dragon's Lair, how that was kind of curved a little bit. I think you can, if you got one of those, and I know Galaga guy just picked up one, but if you can kind of see how that's built, I think a lot you could replicate a lot. I think that'd be good enough, you know.
He did pick one up, but he just recently sold it, I think.
Oh, look at that. The flipping master, dude. That's awesome. Oh, Galaga guy, you're great. That's awesome. Hey, that's a steal of the year on that for $50. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can do with that Dynamo form factor. I mean, we just built the Darkstalkers. You can do so much more. You can do Final Fight. You can do literally anything Capcom, right? But yeah, I think to Paul Miniman's point here, he says, honestly, if you do like the Smash TV or the MKXL that Arcade One Up couldn't do, he says you think it'd sell us that 1,000. If you do something like that, I mean, you get that midway form factor. I think you could do a lot with it. And right now, it's really just securing the Nintendo one. Kind of that's the first step on which the floodgates will open. So I think once we get this done, once Joel gets this 100% and he starts cranking them out, I think you'll see then you're gonna see the Robotron come out, and you're gonna see these other cool arcades, and it's gonna keep you interested. There's again, like I always say, like the Nintendo games and the cat. That's not for me, but I know this is huge for people that wanted those games, or to your point, like want to play. You put an Intech deck in here, you put the cartridge underneath, you don't see anything, and literally you're playing Super Mario Brothers on a Play Choice. Like, how cool is that for your home arcade? That is awesome, and you can use all of your pre-existing cards like that. That's a cool thing for people like myself that I don't know how to work a Pi to get ROMs on a Pi and do all that mumbo jumbo. That's why I use the Arcade One Up internal guts. That's the only way I know how to get the games on. So I think it'd be really
Nobody
a
knows how
cool
to do
option.
that. Nobody
Well,
knows how to do that, Danny. It's illegal.
yeah, exactly. Everybody is telling me it's so easy. Exactly, it's illegal. That's why I don't know. But yeah, I think here's the starting point, and I think you could do a world of a lot of things going forward with this. And again, for those guys of you that are just getting in, this is kind of like the complete. I won't say completed, but this is the more complete version of GI Joel's cab. What is it? It's not Nintendo cab. It's the Joel Tendo cab or something like that.
I
That
don't
he
know
was
what
showing
was
off.
said around
You got to come up with a name.
Nintendo. I don't know, whatever.
The GI Nintendo. But here it is,
Nintendo.
and it looks like it's now. Is this a stock height for Dig Dug? Just so
Yep.
people can get
So
the.
I
Okay.
put it next to Dig Dug. That's the only one left in my arcade right now that's on a stock riser. So I put it next to that just so that people uh, could have that as reference. So that's kind of the stock height of the Play Choice right now. And what it would come at its stock configuration. So the deck would be right about the same height as your arcade one-ups. It's a little bit taller, as you can see, but what I'm going to do, as being in the business of people liking cabs to be taller, short, some a little shorter, but mostly always taller. See how it sits on that pedestal there, the
Yeah. What is
Nintendos?
that?
So
I
the
was going to
Nintendo,
ask
all
you.
the Nintendos came on a little Nintendo or a little pedestal base like that. Um, is just that's the design that it had. It had this little platform that it was elevated off of. So
Huh.
my plan
Interesting.
is that's basically like a 4-inch base right now. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do is offer that in different heights, so that if people wanted to do like a +2 or a +4, like my risers come in, you could adjust and accommodate and elevate the height up with these as well. And
That
so
would be
that
cool.
basically is a platform that bolts right to you set it on it. It's got the little plastic feet on the bottom of it, and it's got little Allen screw bolts that go in from the bottom of the cab base and screw in 4 of them, and it connects the two. And
That's cool. Yeah.
so,
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's like an intuitive internal design that boom, you could just make it bigger. That's cool. I like that. I never even really noticed that. I was always wondering from the photos, like, why is it floating there? It looks like it's floating. But yeah, for you guys that are just getting in, this is the leaked image that we now have clear photos of. And I wanted to show the case this off for you guys that haven't seen this already. This is going to be Joel's first. This is the first groundbreaking product that he's going to be prototyping for the start of the GI Joel cabs that he's going to be making. And this is pretty close to complete as far as the play choice goes. Kind of give you guys an envisionment of what this is going to look like. But yeah, I think this is going to be really really cool. once it starts taking off, and once you guys, once you start kind of offering different form factors and really cool, I think the mind blowing thing to me, because it was really cool seeing this prototype I might be show initially, and then I was like, wow, like Robotron. I really want to see that. That was when we were thinking about modding into an MK2 Deluxe. Like that's gonna be like true. I think that's when you start offering these. It's like people are gonna see theirs and they're gonna be like, "Holy cow, I need to have that!" Right? You're gonna get so many questions of people. Can you do this? Can you do that? And I think there was some chatter in the chat that says, "Hey, let's focus and hone in on this guy, and then take baby steps, and let's see where we can go for the next one instead of just putting your head in 800 different directions." That's kind of like the route you want to take. But who am I to say? Joel is the one that knows what he's doing because he's got everything locked and in place. We've never seen anything like this before, and I think this is really going to rejuvenate a lot of people's perception of home arcade and making their old shark fin cabs into something better, or just getting something that you were never able to get, or something that you never had a chance on getting. For example, I can't get my hands on a frog or anything right now, but if Joel can do something that makes that way, like you can get your game into your home arcade. A Sega Star Wars trilogy. We've talked about this all the time on the show. Like, how cool would it be to get a proper form factor of Sega Star Wars trilogy and play that game in your home arcade? C Marvel 360 is back in the building, baby. He says the shark fin design was pretty cool because a real arcade always had different shapes. The shark fin was a new shape for cabs, also differentiated itself from the retro designs to make it defined. And that's what we're saying here, where we got these new and improved shapes. Like nobody had a Nintendo shape, right? That was never produced or made. And I think that's where you start. That's the most popular cab for sure. Prince Vinny has a question here. He said, ask Joel if we send him vinyl to shape the cutout to a dynamo, would he be able to do an HS5? I know you touched on, Joel. You said something, you were trying to get dimensions to do a dynamo. Was that correct? Were you trying to do something with that?
No, well, I can make up the designs to make up a profile and cut to make my own cab design. That's not an issue. What I was talking about earlier, at least from the HS5 design, was having access to a cab so that I could design up mod parts that would match up with the existing Street Fighter 2 Deluxe cab. So it wouldn't necessarily be, I'm not looking at it to get dimensions to create my own cab for it. If I was going to create my own, I could easily just pop it up.
Okay.
What I think, it seems like where there's interest, and I don't want to, because I can't make and sell these for cheaper than what people are going to be able to get. A Street Fighter 2 Deluxe on clearance liquidation at Big Lots or Best Buy when they go on sale, or on Facebook Marketplace. So I don't really want to go after the shapes that are out there and people have access to mod right now, because if you're watching and paying attention, you can get those at a decent enough deal to make a modding project out of, right? So kind of want to, at least at the get-go, offer modding cabinet options that aren't available out there for people to
something different,
customize and build. But as far as the HS5, the dynamo shape goes, what you've been showing, with the curved marquee idea that Ezekiel was showing, and kind of extruded kick plate and stuff, I could easily make and sell parts to upgrade your current Street Fighter to do those mods, and a curved marquee for that arcade 1-up, and to put the extruded kick plate on your current one, and then just reskin it and put your PCB, do whatever you want, like you and Ezekiel are talking about and showcasing, wanting to do. I could offer those products to people. I want to have one on hand, so that I can pull specs from, design up my modded parts so that they'll easily match up to that existing 1-up cab. I mean, yeah, I could from the ground up create that, Alien versus Predator or whatever cab that you had pulled up there, and sell the complete thing. But I think, there's probably more value and the community would find more value in me not selling you an entire shell right there like that for, $500-$600, and then you're buying it and building your own Alien versus Predator, but you found a big blue for $200 on Facebook Marketplace, and you can buy this extruded kind of out. I don't know what are we going to call that? This extruded kick plate or something.
Kick plate extension. Kick plate extension.
You could buy that from me for, I don't know, $70 or less or something. I don't know what it would be, $50-$70 or something. And then you build it and mod. And so I'm a builder, I'm a modder, a fabricator by heart. I know that there's tons of people that are out there that are like that too and I want to give them options and customize these things. So with the HS5, there were so many different cool options. They had those extruded kick plates. They had this curved bezel. So to be able to buy it, stick that on, and put whatever artwork you want in it, I think would be cool.
Will H has a question. I think the answer is yes, but I want to ask you.
The answer is no. It's half inch.
Oh, it's half inch?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So all the one-ups are half-inch MDF, so I've been just matching.
Oh, that's what I thought it was. Yeah, I don't 3/4. Yeah, I thought it was half inch. Yeah, so it should be the same like a 1-up. That's the answer I had. Yes, it should be the same like a 1-up.
The full scale is when you're starting to get into 3/4 and stuff. So that is another reason why I've been sticking with the deluxe and stuff like that, because it's all half-inch MDF and it's harder to find and been more of a pain in the butt. Like everything to duplicate and replicate what Arcade 1-Up was doing with edge banding, with half-inch MDF rather than 3/4, has been really more of a pain than anything for me. It would have been a lot easier to do 3/4 MDF is readily available at like all your local Lowe's pretty much. Half-inch, no, not so much. In fact, I found one in the greater West Michigan area that was selling it at one time, but they don't anymore. But I ended up starting to get it custom ordered from my local lumber yard, and they're bringing it in by like the pallets for me, like 10 sheets at a time, and I'm trailering it home because I'm going through so much now. But yeah, even the half-inch to do edge banding versus T-molding. T-molding is like so much easier to do than edge banding when it's all said and done. But then to get into half-inch edge banding is even more difficult because it's not readily available. There's the colors are hard to find. I've had to invest in tools to cut down my edge banding to make it thinner because it's not easy to find half-inch because everything's 3/4 or 5/8 and stuff like that.
That's interesting. Why not just offer it at a 3/4 scale? Would the weight be more to like ship things?
The weight would be more. The weight would be more, and it just wouldn't match up. Like even with my inline risers, they were meant to be in line, so you'd have like 1/4 of an inch of material that would be sticking out on your side panels. But to do a whole full deluxe cab, I could, but it wouldn't look the same. It would be heavier and beefier than all your other stuff, and it wouldn't look exactly the same next to your other stuff.
You're probably
either.
right with that. The uniformity, you'd want at least that. The heights and the width that can be different, but like when it comes to that, it might look a little odd.
The other challenge too, I've talked to do flat packing the cam and lock, but if you pay attention, your Arcade 1-Ups aren't cam and lock either. They're the way that they got the bullet hole. They've been Tommy gun shot up on the side of them, and so you got all that. And so they're putting little metal, nuts and stuff.
Those nuts,
inside, and you're screwing those together. I discovered there was a reason why they were doing that too. To do cam locks and cam pins and stuff like that, the widths that they're readily available in and stuff, you're really starting to press the limits of how much material is left there when you start cutting away to be able to pocket that stuff into a thin 1/2 inch piece of MDF board. So
you're saying if you over tighten it, it'll like pop out, like it'll
no,
protrude that wood.
I had to. It took me a long time to find some people that had cams that there were the right, at least the right, close enough to the right thickness that gave me enough, first of all. But then the pins and stuff, like even the dowel pins that I use on my stuff are bigger and thicker. Like if you notice the dowel pins that you use, they put thin dowel. They're like 1/4 inch dowel pins or something,
Yeah,
or
they fall right out half the
1/8 inch or
time. Yeah,
something. They're a
those
lot
yours are
smaller than
thicker.
this.
Yours are beefier. Yeah,
They're thicker, but that's because like really to find a lot of the hardware to lock these things together and the drills and stuff that I needed to do this, like that was what I needed. But you're not left with a lot of material left in between here, so your tolerances of
no,
everything
yeah,
are bit, and then also finding most of the cam locks that came with a lot of this size stuff you can't use because they are thicker, and so I've worked it out and figured it out to be able to have just enough there that it's still solid and not popping. I was having problems with stuff popping through early on and different things, but no, it's been a process and a headache, and probably more of a trouble to try to match the arcade one up output and
that's
quality
crazy.
or
The
look,
research and
right?
development that went through
But also
to like
offer,
getting it
so
to that point.
to
Yeah,
make it look like arcade one up, but to offer it in a good quality too. That's just strong build and stuff like that's more. My stuff's probably more solid than arcade one up stuff.
yeah,
But and to make it so it's not a bunch of holes in the side of my risers and my cabs and stuff that you're screwing things together, to offer it in the cam lock hidden assembly process and stuff. So but keeping it easy so that you could do corner metal or plastic brackets that you guys have to screw a bunch of screws together, and you still have that hidden assembly and smooth panels. But to be able to do a quick cam lock turn, and it's you like that Nintendo cabinet, that thing, you should probably, when it arrives, have it built in 20 minutes or less.
isn't that crazy? It usually takes a good hour and a half to 2 hours to build a one up.
So yeah, I mean
Yeah, awesome.
it quick and hopefully not too complicated, but sturdy and strong, and but also looks like a one up.
John Jay had a question here. How long from purchasing a GI Joe arcade where we get it for delivery? I know you spoke on this kind of lightly, and you probably don't know it fully, but you're saying, hey, look, approximately I could probably do 1 to 2 cabs a day, with your other orders. Where do you see yourself in that process now? I double click on my phone through Apple Pay on GI Joe's website for my Nintendo cab right now, from start to finish. When will that arrive at my door? What's an approximate time you think?
Right. So I mean, like right now, like I'm trying to get caught up with and get things in place, get things in it's kind of this is a new venture for me. So figuring out the whole process of getting the new routine of just even my personal life and stuff in place, as far as, getting the kids to school and after school practices, and, the work load and how I'm going to split my time between my family and my job and stuff like that. Has all been kind of, trial and error too, but trying to get caught up on my current orders of just the risers. Right now, I've been around 6 to 8 weeks out from the time people have been placing an order. Been slowly trying to close that gap. Some of the challenges have been with some of the new products that have been coming out, like with the racing risers. I've had a couple of those that have gone out, but there's still minor tweaks and stuff that we've been making and stuff to some of them that go out. And so To anybody that gets anything, if it ever arrives and you have an issue with it, reach out to me and let me know, and I try to make it right. It's all been a process. We've been narrowing in and dialing in on the risers. Have been like the bane of my existence in a lot of ways, because like One Up made the riser. They didn't even keep things standard in the different risers as far as the corner radiuses and stuff go in the fronts and the back. So I
Yeah.
found that out through trial and error of shipping stuff out to people, and they receive something and they're like, hey, it doesn't fit. There's a gap or whatever. And I'm like, crap. And that's where we started to discover that there's kind of like two variants, but with a couple others mixed in there too. And like 90% of them are always this kind of one design, but for some strange reason, they threw in this other corner radius design on some of the others. So it's that's why the ordering process is a little bit complicated too on there. Like you kind of have to pick between type A and type B but then there's also a couple of others that are variants of that too that we discovered. What is it? I think Tron had it was a slight difference from all the others too. But
That's
then
so crazy.
even with the racers, like like T2 was a little bit deeper than all the rest of them. So all of them had the standard stock dimension of how the depth, but T2 was deeper. Like, all right, so we have to offer a different T2. But then when it came to the racers, all of a sudden they're all the same width, except for Ridge Racer. They added like another inch. So Ridge Racer is like 1 inch wider than all the other One-Ups and stuff.
So weird.
So all of a sudden I went from, at the very least, being able to offer all my center connecting brace struts and all my kick plates at the same width, to all of a sudden now I have to have two variants of each of those
because
too,
of one of this set.
So,
That's crazy.
it just
You gotta
kept
keep all this in
growing
a
and
file.
multiplying from there of all these little
Yeah.
changes. All of a sudden, like things that were common interchangeable parts that I could have on a shelf and just pull, okay, here's a +4 kick plate, throw that on. It's like all of a sudden now I have to have stockpile of +4 kick plates, but then I also need Ridge Racer +4 kick plates.
Yeah.
And
like
so it's
another
just
added,
slowly growing, and every little change. And I've eaten so much money just in shipping people new product, because I want to make things right and help people out as much as possible and stuff too. So it's been a experience, and I appreciate everybody's patience with it all, as well as we've been fine tuning and working it out. And then on top of dealing with, like I said, FedEx and UPS kicking a lot of my stuff all the way to New Mexico or whatever.
That's a problem every company has to deal with. Yeah. That's all part of the
Trying
game,
to figure out this
unfortunately.
balance of like, how do I not put $40 worth of packaging material into this thing to get it there safely? But also, that's the other part, that as these products get bigger too, corrugate boxes get more expensive, the bigger that they are. So.
And that's a good leeway in a C Marvel 360's question here. He says, so are these things going to be produced by hand in GI Joe here in the US, so we're not dealing with the T word and other things, other influences to the cost of this thing? So they are going to be produced strictly from GI Joe, built here in the US, right across the pond. Yep. So, and you
right
even
now
have a stamp.
They're
You have a
built
stamp on
here
that.
in the US, and they're built and handled by GI Joe. But as things progress, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm not just a woodworker and craftsman. I'm a designer, product designer by background in trades, and have like 15 plus years of manufacturing and stuff experience, being in and out of factories and designing parts for manufacturing and things. So I've seen how that goes, and I've been designing all this stuff up to not just be a one-man show that relies on my talent of being able to fabricate and make something with my hands, but to design up a part that can be run on a machine and cut out. And if I need to, hire somebody, that can hit cut on that print on the CNC, pull that piece off, and either have another person or that same person trained on how to run it through the laminator to put vinyl on it, or to wrap it around on the edge bander to apply edge banding and stuff. So putting the tools in place so that it's not relying upon me and, a steady hand or, a craftsman's eye or whatever, a talent, certain
yeah, cut and
talent.
go, yeah,
It's
100%.
more of, I can train somebody that's, willing and open-minded and has the ability to learn and wants to work, to be able to pretty much handle and do this stuff and scale up. So as the orders grow, hopefully it can grow as well. Or if it just stays small and is me, it's fine too. I'm not trying to get rich and become a multimillionaire here, as I've said a couple times now. I'm just trying to pay the bills and enjoy my time trying to pay the bills.
100%, man. 100%. I do really appreciate you obviously being on the show, man. We've gone now 2 hours. Unbelievable.
I
I think,
appreciate it's been like a year since you had me on the show, and
yeah, look
I
at
appreciate you having
we
me
do
on the
yearly.
show. I appreciate all the support that you've given me in between the last times that we've been on, and all your viewers and stuff. Like, I've gotten a lot of my customers, I sometimes ask them, find out how they, heard from me. And a lot of them have come to me, heard through you and stuff. And I appreciate it. All the support that you've offered. And, it's been dealing with you has been a delicate line that I've been trying to walk, because I don't want people. I didn't want people to think that you're like a shill for me or something. Like, I don't even know. To be completely honest with people, that's the type of person I am. I'll tell it to people's face how it is and stuff. And to be honest, and anything I tell people about somebody, if that person isn't in our presence, I'm not afraid to tell them to their face. And so you and I are face to face right now. I have no problem telling you that I early on originally didn't like you, Danny.
And that's it, everybody. We'll see you next week, Tuesday Night Chill and Chat.
You've grown on me a bit over, but I mean, yeah, I didn't care for you when you first showed up on the scene. Like, your personality was a little annoying.
I know.
I definitely didn't care for. I didn't seem like you didn't seem like you were that you had talent to be able to have an interesting show, that you were kind of relying on, like, here's this guy that didn't have much experience in YouTube. He didn't have this much experience in our home arcade. And to me, to be honest, it seemed like when you first showed up, you were kind of leveraging your wife in a lot of ways, to get the viewership and stuff that you were getting. And surprisingly, a lot more people were on your side back then than are now. And I didn't care for it. And I didn't watch you, didn't pay attention to you. And strange in the world that we live in, right? That I had better things to do in my life, family members, hobbies, friends, other interests, that instead of paying attention to you, I just didn't sub to you and didn't recognize the fact that you existed. And so several months later, all of a sudden people were like, hey, this guy, Danny CornerCade's talking about your products. And I'm like, what is he talking about my products? And so started to watch and found out. And then you reached out to me wanting some risers and wanting to buy them. And so I sold them to you. Then they were like, hey, he's talking about your risers on your channel, or on his channel. So I was like, well, I better start at least watching his stuff to see what he's getting wrong
Uh,
and know what's coming my way, you know, of questions I'm going to be asked and stuff, to pay attention and keep an eye on you of what you were talking about with my stuff. But when I came back to your channel and saw what you were saying, I kind of realized, I was like, hey, this guy's come a long way since the last time I saw him. He's got this kind of quality stream. He's got this cool little intro. He's got an interesting personality. He is a talker. He can talk and he can keep you entertained and interested, you know. But I mean, and you were super. I like your your energy and your positivity that you've always had. And so that was one thing I've always appreciated about you, is like, man, this guy's a lot of fun, and you know, he's just positive. And so, I mean, sometimes sometimes you don't know what he's talking about, and he's just making some crap up as he's going along or something. Like even some of the words that he's using ain't in
all the time,
the
man.
right format that they're supposed to be. Like
I
that
think
word
James gets out. Yeah,
that word's not, you're not using the right word there, buddy,
but I
but
sound convincing.
you're flowing, you're going with it, and it's like, all right, whatever. I mean, I can't hold it against you. And you seem like a pretty genuine person, and so I've grown to appreciate that. But you've had a lot of problems too along the way. You've had problems in our Discord. I hate being a moderator and stuff like that, and I've come from the camp of, regardless of how I feel about somebody personally, I want to make sure they're given a fair chance every opportunity that they've given. And so, unfortunately, I've always been an advocate for giving you as fair a chance as everybody else in there. And unfortunately, you've chosen to accept the rules and to go along with what people are asking. And you've taken the feedback and criticism that people have given and gone along with it. So, I mean, I can't hate on you for, you know, you broke a rule and we're like, hey, you need to do this, and, you know, or, you know, face the consequence, and you've always accepted it and like, all right, sorry guys, and I'll fix it and stuff. So other people have chosen to do other things and stuff. So, you know, I've always thought, give people a fair opportunity. You know, there's people out there that say I'm a snake and a Nazi and stuff like that, who have never bought a product from me, who have never, you know, had any. I've given them, in fact, the same amount of leeway and fairness as you were given as well, despite how I felt with them behind the scenes. I've argued for and on their behalf. So I would hope that people would give me that same chance too, you know, not take somebody's word on the internet that's saying, oh, I would never buy his product and stuff. And it's kind of like, well, do your own research. Has that person ever bought any of my products? What was the problem that they had with it? I've done the same thing, you know. I've looked at you and what issues are being talked about. Are there any current open legal actions and ramifications that, you know, he's being held accountable for? No. If so, is there anybody that's claiming that they've been slighted by him and have problems with him? I haven't met any. I've met a lot of people that are claiming that there are people out there who have been and have had problems, but that's third person. I haven't found people that have had a problem with you directly. So, I mean, so I appreciate, and I've tried to walk this line of giving you as many chances as possible, but also, you know, you've been like a shill and a support of mine, and I didn't even care for you like you at first and stuff. And like, I didn't want people to think that I was like, I'm paying you to like push my products either.
No.
But you've just been
If
a
I
huge
believe,
fan.
If I believe in something,
like
100%.
Well, I can't. I'm taking his. It appears that I'm taking his side, but really, I'm just trying to be fair to everybody, you know, in the community, and I'm not trying to take your side because of you push my products, and you know, but that's just who you are, I guess. You know, you've been always just a supporting fan, so I do appreciate that. And I've given you feedback and stuff of like, hey, and you've taken it and listened.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
the stuff that
I've been real talk with you, sometimes, and have told you like, hey, this is how I feel, like, or these are the people that I'm friends with too, and talk to and stuff. If you got a problem with it, I'm sorry, but that's the world we live in. So
I appreciate what you do for not only like myself and the community. I never even heard this story. This is crazy. This is live, baby. Like I didn't even know you felt like that. I didn't get to meet you in person. It's cool. Yeah. At the end of the day, man, like I and this is for everybody in the chat. I appreciate everybody's support, and if I always said to myself, you either love me or you absolutely can't stand me, right? Because I am just a very positive person in my life. There's a lot of bad things that have happened in my life that have grown me into the person that I am today. And I personally, and take everybody's, I just don't have time for it. Why would you want to live any moment of your life with any type of negative thought in your head? Like, who cares about that stuff? If people are gonna make bad products, Arcade One Up makes stinky products all the time. We'll talk about it. They make good stuff. At the end of the day, if you actually think about it, Joel, for as much flack as Arcade One Up gets, they're the only ones that, and I think Jay said this, and I was thinking it, is the only one that like actually put product in your house, up until
right.
this point, right? like all these other companies, like we don't have, besides at games, of course, but it's just it's at the end of the day, it's just a big waste. The chat is blowing up. It's hilarious. Paul Miniman said, "Here's what I appreciate about Danny," and I actually always thought this, and I appreciate that he appreciates and acknowledges it. And I don't know who else out there knows, that I really haven't. This is my passion. I eat, sleep, and breathe these things inside and out. I always said, look, I could definitely be like a QA tester for as far as like the build quality or how this thing is supposed to look or whatever. I'm not gonna know frame rates or all the game, like Justin Wong, right? He could test a game, he could test Street Fighter out, right? I wouldn't know anything about that as far as testing that out. But as far as like getting this and playing with the control and say, okay, this is the right form factor, okay, it's the right height, like this is you know, I would always see myself doing that because I have that particular. This is what I love to do. And this isn't just some sort of get rich Ponzi scheme on YouTube. Like nobody watches this stuff. We're a very small, unique channel. I always joked with my wife, if we did like in the car eating as a couple, right? We get 100 million views, right?
I'm
Because
sure
everybody
you
wants to
probably
see.
do a lot better than what you're doing right now.
Exactly. And there's no passion in that. For example, here's a great example. We went to Burger King today as a family and tried that whole new Dragon Whopper meal, right? It would have been a great time to pull out the camera, start recording, get the DJI mics going. Hey, this is the first family to try this, right? Put it on the internet. Boom, views. It's like I'd rather just spend the time with my son and my daughter and my wife and just having fun times together as a family, right? Like, so there's a lot of things that like you could do to do big things, right? But we do this for the passion of this. We haven't, I can speak upon myself. I haven't gone in a different direction at all. That's not a knock against anybody. The interests change, right? Totally. But this is just what I love and this is my passion. I appreciate like Paul Mindeman like sticking through and just like I never really noticed. I'm like, hey, do you think other people notice that? Like, this is what, like, that's why we're modding all these cabinets because there's not anything exciting going on. So we're not just going to become a Nintendo Switch 2 channel, right? We're not just going to do that now. We're not just going to jump to the latest fad. We're staying with what I love and believe in. And retro arcade gaming is just, it's endless. It's survived up until now. It's going to survive into the future. And I think this only grows to like getting real arcades or something, like when you get that house someday. But yeah,
There's
just
always going to
regarding
be
the chat.
something. It's always been a challenging debate, though, for me. Like, I still wonder if it's going to be around and, how long it's going to be around and how far I'm going to be able to take this, right? I
Mm.
question, am I getting in too late? Was the scene and opportunity and modding scene for this all several years ago, or, am I a little too late? But I don't know. We'll see how it goes from here. I'm not basing my business around Arcade One Up and Risers just for it, as you can see, trying to branch out and offer other opportunities. Unfortunately, my interests and hobbies and passions, are related around this stuff that, is a little bit different and tricky to navigate through. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but
Hey, it's all the journey starts and it keeps on
Right.
going. Let's go. And like I've never there's it just it happens in life. You know, you start out small, you don't have a lot of equipment, you start to do things, you get certain people on your show. I'm just having fun the whole time. I don't take this as like this is my job, this is my profession. Okay, I need to get a video out because I didn't get a video out today. What can I fakely talk about to just blah 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 to just get out there on YouTube? When I make a video, it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that we're actually physically doing. I can't do those just fluff videos. That's not who I am. I'm not going to sit here and just talk about stuff just to talk about it, right? Like there's that's like it's what the live streams for is to kick back and
Well,
take
you
it from
do
a good
sometimes
life,
just
right?
talk about stuff just to talk about it, but you clearly are passionate about it too. Like I have
Yeah, yeah.
discovered that you, I mean, I don't, I don't think there's anything fake about you. You are just a very happy, energetic person. I mean, you can be a dummy sometimes too, though. I mean, you've gotten yourself into you've had issues, and but I don't think that from what I've seen, it's not been anything malicious on from your intent. Like it was a situation, that the way that something played out, but you didn't mean for it. Like you weren't trying to do something or take advantage of somebody or something, or sometimes you say things without talking, but I make that same mistake myself. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I say my thoughts and how I think. And so I've lost a lot of friends and stuff over it. And unfortunately people, it's my personality. I can't change it. And that's your personality. You can't change it, So, I mean, unfortunately, that's where we live in. So take it or leave it. But apparently, some
Yeah.
people want to leave it while taking it. Right? They still can't get away from it. It's like, all right, just move along. You don't have to watch my stuff. You don't have to listen to me. If you find me
Nobody
annoying or you find my kid annoying or something, all right, move along. Like, is somebody holding you prisoner, forcing you to watch this and then comment on it? Like, just I got better things to do with my life. I got family, I got kids. I'm trying to enjoy and spend time with them. That's part of the reason I'm not a YouTuber, but I do YouTube because my boy enjoys it. I have friends, I've met everybody through you guys and stuff. And so, I've been kind of a part of it and starting to stream just because it's kind of fun, right? But I got an annoying voice, I think. I'm not a very fluent, well articulate speaking person, the me no words good thing. So I'm sorry. That's not one of my talents. My talents is working with my hands and building stuff. If you guys want to watch it too and you enjoy it, then
Yeah,
that's great. If
we
you don't,
definitely
then just
we
move
definitely
along. I'm
do.
not
No, we
asking
definitely
you.
do. Yeah.
I'm not trying to make a living off of it, and I'm not trying to rip anybody off and pull the wool over anybody. That's who I am. So I'm sorry if you don't like it. Go find something that you do like. This is what I
That's
like.
the that's the great thing with YouTube is there's a lot of other people to watch. There's a lot going on. You can do the same thing on a TV anywhere, and like I learn new things every day, even being almost 40, right? We all have made mistakes in life. We all move on from them and we all move the drill. Some people can't and they just have to hold on to every last breath because they just want to tear people down, and I get that. That's every not listen, I always said this and I always teach my kids this. In this world that we live in, there has to be bad people, right? Because that's what distinguishes them from the good people. Because if everybody was good, then we're just people, right? So in this world, there has to be assholes. There has to be bad people. Otherwise, the world don't go round. And we appreciate those people, but I never give them any time of my day. I just let them keep making up stories and believing this fantasy land that they live in with these random images that they have or receipts that they may or not have. I could care less. I'm here about the arcades. It's all about the arcades. I said this, Joel, and to no offense here at anybody, but I said one day I said, if I couldn't get my hands on crystal castles anymore. Let's say all the crystal castles were burned in a lava fire, right? And I could never get that game again. I would be devastated, right? And say your game, X-Men versus Street Fighter, Sega Star Wars trilogy, right? Because it's about the arcades. But if someone were to never talk to me again or not be on this planet anymore, it's like, okay, that kind of sucks, but okay, he was an asshole anyways. So how do we do Sega Star Wars trilogy? You know, like that's what the focus has to be. That it's about arcades, guys. This is an arcade community. This isn't anything else. This isn't any other community but home arcade, right? But
the problem is, Danny, what you just said there. Somebody didn't clip that and be like, you know what? He's saying arcades are more important than a person's life.
Have at it. The people that are here and the people that have always supported us.
It's not the words he's using; it's the spirit of what he means by the words, right? Pick up what he's trying to express and tell you guys. He's not saying that people's lives are more important than arcade games.
But. No, it's just about the games, man. Like how I got so hyped putting this Darkstalkers together, and I'm not even like a huge Darkstalkers fan, but the cab looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. This is what it's about. And like, if we can get our hands on that John D Alpha 2 cab, that XL Alpha 2, like that's gonna be so cool playing those games, seeing that side art, seeing the marquee. It's incredible. Your Nintendo cab, right? Your deluxe Nintendo. That, you know, I know Vic Vicious was asking, what about a Cuber? You know, like that would be cool. So just getting these new and exciting form factors and arcades into our home arcade is really what it's about at the end of the day. It's nothing else, and it's the enjoyment of reliving these retro games that I just find absolutely awesome. So it's great. I love it. And guys, if you want, I mean, we've been here going on 2.5 hours, guys. Joel, I really appreciate your time. We could be here forever. If there's any last rapid fire questions that you want to ask Mr. Joel from G.I. Joel Gaming about this cab right here, this Nintendo Play Choice cab that he's kind of making up here. And there's going to be other variants of this, you know, different colors for Donkey Kong Jr., you know, Super Mario, you name it. Let him know what we got him on the show. You know, 2.5 hours deep. Joel, I appreciate your time. You could be anywhere. You could be sleeping right now, which you probably need a nap because you've just worked the entire day and had so much to do. But if there's any last questions, you know, let us know. Otherwise, you know, like I said, Joel, I appreciate you
trying to figure out that balance. So like that's my my biggest issue right now is I actually am a night person. Like I get my energy and start getting going, you know, in the afternoon and could work all through the evening and all through the night. But I'm finding it hard to kind of justify to myself to work a third shift when I'm self-employed. And so being like napping and sleeping when my family's around and then working when they are around and stuff and things like that. Like I'm really trying to shift and be this morning person but I'm struggling at it too. So I would much rather be working all through the night, but trying to go to bed early and get up early. I was told like, kind of way, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Haven't gotten there with any of that yet, but
yeah.
I did see, you know, we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier in the chat. You know, Dudes Arcade talking about, you know, scaling up. I've been thinking, you know, I'm working on calculating and thinking about that type of stuff. I don't know what to expect with this. You know, we're told the home arcade is dead and stuff like that and dying on its way out. I don't know if like I should expect, you know, 10, 20 orders, you know, within the first 2 weeks or, you know, 50 orders in the first hour that it goes live. So I don't know what to expect as far as what people want and what the demand is going to be. So my calculation on it has been more of playing it a little bit by ear, being somewhat prepared to scale up as quickly as possible if needed. But I may do like sort of a limited pre-run or something like that just to start testing the waters. I don't want to get too far behind with orders where, you know, I'm not a people person. So I I really don't want to be dealing with customer service emails, replying to people, giving them updates on where their orders are and stuff like that if I don't have to. So I may do kind of a limited run first, just to trial and error getting stuff out, how quickly I can actually produce it and get it going. Get a feel for how quickly that pre-run gets sold out. Like, if I do make it a 25, cab batch or something,
Yeah, I
just
think that's a good
put a
idea.
cap
Yeah,
on it, so that, and if all of a sudden those are sold out within a day, that might be a sign like, oh shit, like,
yeah,
all right,
that'd be a
I
strong
can pump
indicator.
these out, and get these out and get them going to these 25 people that have entrusted me with their money, and keep them happy, get it out. But while in the meantime, start to work out, all right, I think I need to get a building and get a few more CNCs and a couple more employees and stuff to start opening up, But if
Yeah,
I open this up for a 25, pre-order, and it takes a couple weeks, then it's kind of like, all right, that tells me, I might be able to just keep this going on a smaller scale and scale up, and open it up to just people can order them as they need to. I feel semi confident that, still on my own, I could be doing one or two, getting one or two out the door per day, along with other orders. And if the demand becomes too high, maybe I start shutting down and limiting some of the orders on risers, and the focus becomes more on cabs. Shifting where the interest and the profit is better for me. And what's best for everyone. So it's all playing it by ear. I've never done this before. I'm not going to pretend that I've I've started up a bunch of companies and am a successful entrepreneur business owner, and I'm not, but I'm an honest, genuine guy. I've been there in your guys' shoes of being, a part of the community and invested in, I've done Kickstarters and things like that. And I've been a fan and passionate about products and things that have been made and stuff. So I know the anxieties and woes that come along with it. I know that there's challenges and issues and failures that come along as well. So trying to mitigate and avoid as much as that as possible. So I would, like I said, I think I want to do a small run just so I don't open it up for orders, go to sleep, and then wake up and I have like 500 orders for a cab over, in one night or something. And it's like, oh
yeah.
crap, I got to figure out how to scale all this up. And like, I'm going to be like months out and people are going to be waiting on it. And this is just a cluster. So,
So if you do those limited small batches, like of 20, 25, like you were saying, you can kind of get a
yeah,
feel and a gist of,
get some
okay, and then we can
safeguards in
open up
place for
again.
myself and for
Yeah.
you
So you're
guys. I
not
mean, I'm not
exactly.
I'm not
Yeah.
looking to swindle anybody out of any money and stuff, to take all of a sudden I open this up and I've had like 5,000 orders, and I can't fulfill them with, I'm a one-man garage. I'm just going to take it and take your money and run. Like, I want to
You can
make
temp
sure that there's stuff in
yeah.
place so that I can continue to grow this and keep my customer satisfaction and trust and stuff that, I've been working hard to build up with you guys.
And
I want to make
you
sure
can
it's
have
there and remains.
you can have something on your website that says, temporarily sold out or pre-order sold out or whatever, like however you want to word it, and then you could reopen it, have like a message that pre-orders will
Yeah.
reopen, and then once you're done with said can, I think that's a good idea, especially with a one-man band, right? You don't want to have, an order that you need
Yeah.
100 cabs the next day and you're like, it's going to take a year to get these out. I saw somebody put up a question like, like a year would be, that'd be terrible, but yeah, because there's a lot of companies that are getting just killed with orders. I mean, there's obviously a demand in home arcade and home arcade products. Like, it's obvious at this point. We just need certain people and companies that know what they're doing to get this stuff out, to get it fast, to get it now, to get it right. My Joe Sabo's order was super quick, so I don't know if he has like help over there, but I know it typically can range from 3 to 6 months or something. It just is the nature of it. And a lot of these guys,
Yeah.
they do real arcade stuff too. So it's not just like, me and a bunch of other people that are modding. It's like businesses and real, like, I mean, then it expands everywhere that they're doing real arcade machines and stuff. And so you just got to be patient with the process. And at the end of the day, you're going to find your niche. And then like what you said, the 25 cab list kind of thing. I actually kind of like that idea. I think that would help you and the consumer, be it, like you said, a safeguard, um, for
I think
both the
that was
consumer
kind of a
and
little
you.
bit the route buy stuff was going to with their, super sprints and stuff. They kind of limited it to, I think that was wise, so you don't end up, they were dealing with a lot more money too, that, and bigger,
Yeah, yeah, they're super
investments too.
sprints. Yeah,
So
John,
I just,
John,
I'm trying to protect and myself and you guys as much as possible. And I don't know what to expect. I'm a kind of a pessimist when it comes to stuff, and I'm not too optimistic all the time. So like I appreciate the, the best wishes and stuff. I too hope that maybe, it would be exciting to have that, oh shoot moment that this is going to be something big and I can create a nice full-fledged business out of this and hire people and, provide them with, income and ways to support their family too. But right now I'd be happy just paying my bills and supporting my family and enjoying the time while I'm doing that. But
I'm gonna rapid fire some questions. I want rapid fire answers to kind of end the show. I could keep you all day, Joel. Like we could
I
talk all
can
night.
see
We could
that.
do our
I can
24-hour stream, and that's
see that.
crazy for somebody that hates me so much. No, I'm just kidding.
It's
Okay,
not just
so
you, it's everybody, right?
oh,
So,
okay, that's fair. Well, you do hate people, right? So,
but it was
God, I'm a
you
people. So.
more than everybody else, though. It was a little bit more. So
Oh, that's great. I absolutely love it. Okay, so John J here, quick rapid fire answers. He says, Joel, do you think about making a complete arcade with everything included, the games and everything? I probably already know the answer, but go.
I would love to. I also just want to make sure that this is successful in the long term. And so doing whatever I can to avoid legal ramifications of ROMs or things like
Yes.
that, copyrights and stuff. So that's the only full-fledged controls, things I have access to from legal means and everything. Yes, 100%. Love it.
There you go. Now, Joel, I don't normally do this with guests at all, but Zero Redux wants us to bring the heat, so let's do it. Absolutely love that super chat downer. Probably one of my favorites. Zero Redux with a $5 super chat. This hobby needs some CornerCade energy. Well, will you look at that? Let's go, baby. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm just myself. I can't be anybody else. So this is what you get, guys. Either you love me or you hate me, and hopefully you'll love me more than you hate me, but it doesn't matter because the show's going to keep on rolling, baby. Thank you, Zero, for that $5 super chat. Will H has a question here. It says, what are your honest thoughts about Danny?
I think that was from a while ago.
I got to rewind it a little bit. I love it. So Calvin Wong agrees with limited time batches. It's probably a good idea. Hayden I know he brought this up before. It's a stretch, but how could you produce the grid? I'm working on linking my past to run co-op.
Working on linking my past to run co-op.
So are you wanting, I think he wants like the grid, but possibly like 2, 3, 4 grid cabinets. That would be insane.
How many people we have watching this? Still quite a bit.
Well, we had 63 at one point. We have
54. I don't want to divulge too much, but it's something we've been actively maybe thinking about / more than thinking about.
There you go. Leave it. We'll
leave it at that. We're hoping to maybe have some progress there and something to share.
Look at that. Look at that. So would you look? So we did end the poll,
but I'm not, like I said, I'm not a software guy, so I'm relying heavily on some help from some of the community members and stuff on some more of that. I'm more of like the hardware, getting the cab designed and getting the controls designed, the joystick and things like that, so that it functions properly. And But we're doing a little bit of exploration on whether or not what the possibilities are for, because to make that thing work, co-op is a must, right, for that game.
Yes, yeah, that's you got to
But
link
to
a lot
really
together.
make it work and make it interesting for the community as a whole, non-wired, non-local co-op would be even more ideal. So
Yeah,
that's
that would. I don't even need online because that would be awesome. Yeah, just linking them like local link, like the Fast and Furious was. That's how it's
so
done right there.
locally. I know it should be a little bit more realistic, closer in, and hopefully achievable. But
Yeah, Chris Muter
non-local would
said,
be even better for the community, because then we all could battle each other with our
"Can you
own
imagine
individual.
GI Joe puts out a cab that's online? Oh my god, that's insane." And Chris says, as long as it doesn't turn into a year-long plus like New Wave Toys, nobody wants that. I've forgotten half of what I ordered from them anymore, and that's exactly why I don't pre-order for those specific reasons. Now, the John D cab, obviously, well, that was a little bit different because they were stopping pre-ordering, increasing the price. So I'm like, look, I got to get my pie in while I can, and I paid half of it. So we'll see what happens with that. But to Chris's point, he's 1,000% correct, as you
I
don't
don't.
want
I've
that
been there. I don't
long-term
like that
thing. Yeah.
myself. So, and I don't
No,
want to be holding
it's
on to your
awful.
guys' money that long either. So that's why I
Yeah,
want to try
100%.
to be as efficient with the whole process as possible.
Let's see what I got here. I know there was a couple questions. Oh, I know Vic Vicious said, Joel, I'm your number one for the afterburner list. Trust me, Vic Vicious. You should
It
like send him a T-shirt
definitely
with
will
that.
be. Because it's not on my bucket list, but it's one of those, like, just, yeah, I'm not a huge arcade guy. I just like, I don't play these games as much as I do. I'm not a huge gamer, I guess, when it comes to it. I'm not a real gamer. I love playing video games, but I love building video games and arcade cabinets. So I love building and making things, and I don't think I'd ever have a use for an afterburner in my own personal arcade, but it sure as hell looks like a fun one to make, and I would love to make it. And so,
Yeah, yeah.
Vic, you're my number one. You would get the one of one. Hopefully, it won't be only the one, but if I ever do build one and it only is the only one, it'd be going to you, my man.
I
So.
think you should do the 25 thing for all of them. I truly do, just to kind of gauge to see like what's more popular, and then again, it keeps you from just
Well,
getting backlogged
if
of
if they
orders.
take off, I mean, it wouldn't have to
Yeah,
necessarily be 25 later on. If I have multiple machines and stuff set up and ready to go, in a matter of kicking out new designs, trying to make sure that I mentioned, we're working on Space Invaders and the Robotron. I want some of the parts to be interchangeable and move in. It's more of just changing the side panel shape and design and stuff. So some of the main components can all be the same and translates over. So hopefully it would be a quicker process.
100%. Guys, Joel, I love you. We're going on 3 hours now. I got to get out of here. Joel's got to get out of here because I know what's Paul Miniman said. I'll take that energy and go make a cabinet. Like we got to get
Oh,
to see there. Go right here.
Thor KC just made a chat. I didn't read what he said, but sorry, the way I've got issues with my brain, it goes all over the place. But you
Right here.
mentioned at the beginning of the show, the tank stick deck, the tank stick, and a cab for it or something. I picked up a tank stick, in case you weren't aware, a couple weeks ago, with the sole purpose of designing a stand or something for it. So be on the lookout. That is something that's kind of in the works, and I've been starting to play around with too, is some sort of a
That would be
cool
cool.
stand that fits into our arcade. So it doesn't look like it's
Yeah.
something that came off of a Billy Joel concert. But it's something that you could put in our arcade and kind of looks. It might be a little bit more futuristic and stick with that MetaQuest, white and black feel, carbon fibery and stuff, but might have a little bit of fun with it. But I think it needs something that fits more arcade. So,
Joel, this was fun. I appreciate the time, man. You gave way more time than you needed to, and I really honestly do appreciate that. Been a big supporter, obviously, since the first time I saw one of your products, man, and I was like, this is awesome.
appreciate it.
Everybody's
It's
got
been
to know
fun.
about this, and to see you kind of grow, much like myself, it's pretty cool at the end of the day, just to see like where you come from, and now look what you're doing.
What a year it's been. It's been a year since I was
Yeah.
on the show when we just first launched the risers. And at that time, it was mostly, I thought I was going to be going down building CornerCade stands as just a little hobby type thing. And then all of a sudden, the risers is what popped. And I didn't think people would pay for those. So hopefully my expectations are too low for these cabs too. And it just keeps growing. And I can offer more cool stuff to the community, to the people that are interested in that cool stuff. It's not for everybody, right? I mean, there's people that love, the authentic home arcade, full scale stuff. And I mean, you can get that in places that's probably not the area and that I'm going to play. I'm offering toys. We like our toys, and it's fun.
100%, man. 100%. And I know Thor's getting back on that comment there, so he says it's good to hear. Yes, it looks like that's another one of GI Joel's just in the lab productions here that he's going to be working on. Again, a lot of different cool stuff coming out, and we got to get you back on to see the progress when you come. I think the biggest one is when you come up with another new design. I want to get you back on. I think Robotron's the next one, so we can kind of take a look at that, answer the community's questions, and I think going forward, any products you want to come on the show, let me know. It's an open door, guys. Joel, I really do appreciate it. Is there anything that you want to? I mean, we obviously promoted you the entire show, but is there anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I don't think so. Said a
Okay,
lot.
let's go, guys.
Said more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I'm not a talker. I'm not a people person. I'm not a YouTuber.
So I got that out of you at least. We got some conversation on Mr. Joel himself. So guys, I appreciate everybody sticking around. Super chats galore. I appreciate the conversations. You guys really kept the show rolling for almost 3 hours. Insanity, unbelievable. This is what we do here. Guys, I really do love and appreciate each and every one of you guys. Please leave a comment down below. I read and respond to every single comment that is left on a video of mine. So if you guys leave comments,
where do you find time to do that with like bothering me all day and bothering everybody else and
it's very
in and out
easy.
of everybody's
It's
Discord
on your device and it's very easy to do that. So you got to make the time, I guess. Like that's one thing I pride myself on is answering back, because you talk to somebody, I'm not talking about us content creators, but if you leave a message on somebody that's a little bit more, got a lot more going on in their videos and comment section, you never really hear from them, right? So I try to pride myself on getting back to you. But guys, if you have a question that you don't think about now that you want to ask Joel, or anything about this episode at all, you can leave it down below in the comments. We always want to know your thoughts, feedbacks, and reactions. As always, me and Joel are gonna get out of here because we've been here for way too long.
Rod, I don't know if that was if he's aware. I am trying to start to stream builds and stuff from the shop in here, so go subscribe to my channel, I guess, if you want to see that type of content. I'm not the best and most eloquent and entertaining person to watch, but GI Joel X84 on YouTube.
There you go, moderators. If you could toss the link in the chat, guys, and I'll add it to this link's video's description as well, so you guys can go check him out. Let's do this. Let's go. Lots of let's goes. You guys are awesome as always. This is why, it's people like Joel and everybody in the chat, the 63 people that we had at one point in here. I do this for you guys. I could easily have just not had any of this stuff and gone and played Darkstalkers all night and chilled with my wife in bed and watched a movie. But we're here because you guys make this show possible each and every week. You guys keep this channel running, and I honestly do appreciate each and every one of you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys rock. That's why we're still here rocking and rolling, guys. Give this video a like on your way out. For Joel, I'm Danny from the CornerCade. We're about to bust on out of here. We will see you guys in the next one. Peace.